from the jump for the shit. All top when I speak, all cap with the speech till they caught up in the rapture. So out of line with the phrase game. Let's take a break, been a long day. Hit your line, what you fall through with the nightsticks. Maybe help me spark the ideas. We got nowhere else to go, it's only up from there. I've been on my own, just running through the field. Say vivid for the ears, I know that's how they like. Yeah, I fantasize. Tell me that it's real when it's all said and done. I said it how I feel it. I let them hear the fear of a passive aggressive angry black man with a passion. Steady grip when I shoot to the stars with a full clip. Trying line with a loose sleep, then I proofread till I lose sleep. Couldn't handle the truth in your bed with the writing. Love at first sight shit, art over hype shit. Need a sound bite for the time capsule. Press play, they pause time for a bit. Smitten, I admit it, cut it, kick it. I'm in love with the fine print. Scribble type of shit they wouldn't find behind it. Why the suspicious behind the eyelid. Tell a reckless with the clauses. Careful with the cost me. Need this shit forever, but I never ever stop until they put me in the coffin or they off me. Fuck niggas quick to auction, they false print. Always treat the shit with a caution. Hold it 10 toes down for the dogs, you can see the paw print. Searching for the answers in the bottom of the last strip to the handle. The beginning of the candle. Doing shit to myself, give me fears when I'm looking in the mirror. I'm seeing somebody else, yeah. Mi corazón is on my sleeve shoulder. Wrist thing and they rose gold and right glow from me. I couldn't pinpoint on the globe, so I wanted to go from it. Just know that I don't fit in, but I wanna feel everything, yeah, 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 everything, yeah. I got my eyes low with the sky foes where the rhyme flows. I don't really know just what we might go with the mind scope. So many things I never learned with my eyes closed. Too busy with the schemes on the telling of my dreams on the rail, bitch. I grind like my life's on the line, hella wired. So fall through with the light sticks. We open up when the light flicks. On sight, yellow casseroles, everything around me. Hunting for the bounty. Wait, that nigga.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Talk That Talk Tuesday. I am glad you guys are here tonight for this conversation. We're starting a little late today, had some technical difficulties, but hey, we beat them, and so we're ready to go. We're ready to rock and roll. And we got some great people in the house tonight, have some great women in the background tonight that are going to tackle this conversation. And so, guys, I ask that that you guys get ready for it. It's going to be an amazing show. All right. Thank you guys for being here in the chat. I see you, Corey Hager. Von Bryan, thank you for doing the work in the chat tonight, man. You know how much that means to me to have you work that chat for me. So do your thing tonight. I appreciate you. All right. Now, as we get into the show, before I bring up the ladies and cam up and all that good stuff, I just want to, first of all, thank the ladies for being here and thank them for having the conversation because, you know, a lot of ladies in these YouTube streets don't get on much and have these conversations, but these women that are going to be on here tonight, they don't mind having the conversation, and so I'm glad about it. So what I'm going to do first, y'all know how we do it. I definitely want to bring the ladies up, and I want to do it the right way because that's how we do our intros over here. I want everybody to have a good time. So. We're going to start with none other than Auntie's in the building tonight. So we definitely got to give it up for Auntie TJ. Auntie TJ's in the building tonight. All right. We got Chastity in the building tonight. We have I Am Courtney in the building tonight. We have Shoo Shoo here tonight. I have a new face in the place, right? And tonight, and I'm going to introduce her as well and thank her for being here as well. But let's see here. Go ahead and bring you guys up. Let's see. All right. Here we go. Here we go. All right. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, first I want to bring up TJ Randolph is in the building tonight. TJ, good evening, honey. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Absolutely. Good to see you, hon. All right. Next, I'm going to bring up Shoo Shoo is in the building tonight. Shoo Shoo, what's going on, lovely?
What's going on?
All right. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. And then I want to bring up Chastity, guys. Now listen, now I have two beautiful women up here already. We have TJ Randolph, all right, retired military, beautiful woman, newlywed still, and Mr. Randolph. You better not miss Mr. Randolph. Mr. Randolph in the building, and so I all praises to Auntie TJ, and then we have none other than Shushu. Now, guys, Shushu is an actress. Now, you probably have seen her on TV with people like on TV shows with J-Lo in it. You've seen her on Law and Order. You've seen her on different shows, and she's here tonight. So let's give it up for Shushu as well. All right, Shushu. So now we're going to go ahead and bring in Chastity Wells. Now, Chastity Wells, guys, if you want to get your life right and you want to leave everybody with something when you pass, you know, we gotta prepare ourselves with that. This woman will take care of your insurance. She will take care of your life. Make sure your children are blessed when you are gone. Let's welcome Chastity. She's in the building tonight. All right, the ladies are filling up in here. All right, so listen, all the way from I just want to. How do I bring her up? This lady right here, she's been in the YouTube streets for a very long time. Beautiful, down to earth. She's a celebrity. I know her, but I had to ask for autographs. She's just too big right now, so I had to beg her on hands and knees. Can you please come over and help your boy out tonight? Let's give it up for my girl. I Am Courtney is in the building tonight. Yeah. All right. And then let's see here. We have Miss Hill in the building tonight. Now, Cannon Hill and Ashley, I'm going to let them introduce their podcast tonight because they have their own podcast for the ladies. But I want to introduce them individually. Let's give it up for Cannon Hill first.
Hey.
Hold on, hon. All right. And let's give it up for Miss Ashley. Michelle's in the building tonight.
Hi, everyone.
All right. Now, listen, guys. I got a new face in the place tonight, and I'm glad that she wanted to come on. I've been knowing her for a very, very, very long time, and I want to bring up Miss Queen Smiley is in the building tonight. Queen, what's going on, baby? All right. Now,
good evening, everybody. I hope y'all well.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Now, the last but not least, I have a co-host tonight, guys. And the co-host tonight is the person that birthed this conversation. And so I want to bring her up. Let's give it up for the one and the only Tawana G is in the building tonight. What's going on, Tawana? How are you?
I'm great. Lots of pressure. I birthed this conversation.
Yes, you birthed this conversation.
Pressure. Hey, y'all. Hey, everybody.
It's good to see everybody. So listen, I want to allow you guys to introduce your podcast because you guys can do it more eloquently than I can. So I'm going to start with let's start with Tawana, then we'll go to Shushu and so on and so forth. So go ahead, Tawana. Shout out your podcast, and the mods will also put it in the chat as well.
Hi, everyone. Just Tawana G. And you could just put in Tawana G. I used to be Wana Chica. Either one, it'll come up. And yeah, I go live when I feel like it. Y'all will see. Just hit the subscribe button. I go live.
All right, Shushu.
Well, I have a YouTube page. It's Shamiria. I post like on my acting reels. I also have a podcast with my brother Mandrell, Unapologetic with Mandrell and Shushu. It comes on Wednesday, so we'll be on tomorrow on the Black Man Unfiltered network. So y'all tune in.
Come on, Chastity. That's here.
All right. Hey, family. Good evening. I am a wealthy insurance lady. You can find me on all social media podcasts or all social media as Chastity A. Wells. There's only one T in my name, CHASIT as in Tom Y, on social media. I do talk about all things, especially life insurance, making sure everyone are not doing GoFundMe. We're in 2022. No need to do that. On YouTube, I like to have a little bit more fun when possible. You'll see me and other people in my life. We like to have a little bit more fun. So definitely tune in. Let's kick it. Let's have a whole vibe. And I don't do drama because I will remember I'm from Cleveland. So moving on.
Chas, I love Chastity. I Am Courtney's in the building tonight.
Hey, what is going on, family? Yes, I am Courtney. Of course, I got my show that I do. Like Tawana, it's been how I feel. So I feel you on that one. So you can follow me on YouTube at I am Courtney Michelle, and you can also see me still rocking on the Latif Network.
Absolutely. TJ Randolph is in the building. TJ, talk to us.
Good evening, everyone. I am TJ Randolph, and my channel is Mosaic with TJ Randolph. And I talk about things, as it relates to the lessons I've learned in now these 55 years, to include dating successes and failures, parenting successes and failures. Some of the things we're going to talk about tonight, as far as femininity, what it is, what it wasn't, what it isn't, and what I thought it was. And I also do a show with my daughter, who I call my fruit, Lady's Legacy, who's about to be 28, and she shares some of her truths as it relates to her mama and what her mama showed her. So I haven't been feeling. I do a cocktails and conversations on Mondays where I have different guests, but I haven't just been feeling it. So I'm like Tawana and Courtney. I just haven't been feeling it. So I'll go live eventually. But yeah, that's it.
All right. So
and your music channel.
Absolutely. So Miss Smiley, tell us about what you have going and what you do and what you could put out there as well. I don't know if you have any social media or anything that you want to follow, but go ahead.
So I do not have a YouTube. I don't post. I don't do the live videos. I've thought about it. Several friend girls and we've had the conversation of, hey, let's go ahead and get this started, because we do listen to a lot of women channel, of course, the Black Men here Unfiltered. But we listen to a lot of podcasts and we have some conversations and real conversations. My circle's rather small because a lot of us don't like to have those honest conversations. So I'm definitely understanding some of the stuff that's happening here in this, speaking about life insurance and things like that, breaking those generational curses to where we have to show our youth how to build wealth. I wasn't shown that. I'm like some of the women here. I'm a military veteran. I'm a mom who's had some failures because I was a young mom. I'm 41. My oldest daughter turns 26 this year. So that can tell you a lot about what worked and what didn't work. I've been married. I've been divorced. I've dated. I've chose abstinence at times. And then other times I've had my run of the streets. I'm a woman. I'm true to who I am. And I'm unapologetic about it. So that I can definitely share.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
You need a podcast. You need one.
Oh yeah. Ashley Michelle, what's going on, girl?
Hey. Well, I am obviously Ashley Michelle, and I started a podcast, The Ladies Room, back in October. We're fairly new. Okay. We've only tomorrow will be our 31st episode.
Okay.
So we're babies in this YouTube world, okay? But we talk about a lot of things. We have different perspectives on the show. I tend to give more of a Christian perspective. We got Cannon, who gives more of like a perspective from, I don't know what you say, more of like a feminist type of perspective. We got Jovo, who's our therapist and who's like that down home Georgia girl. And we have Raven on, who is the youngest on our crew. So she speaks a lot from like a millennial, or like, I can't even remember her age group, what they call it, but that perspective. And so we talk about dating, marriage. We talk about parenting. We just did a series on fertility, anything pertaining to women, but men are welcomed as well. And we air every Wednesday. We go live on YouTube every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And last but not least, Miss Hill is in the building tonight. Miss Hill.
Thank you. Yeah. I am Cannon Hill. And as Ashley stated, we are both on the Ladies Room podcast. We talk about so many things. Just I know sometimes I leave Ashley like, I don't know how to what box to put you in. But I'll say, it's white women. So no, I would say more of a womanist perspective is what I generally speak from. And then Raven is Gen Z, so she's a Gen Zer. Yeah, so they're a whole nother different category.
All right.
But yeah, that's kind of what we do. And thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all of you ladies for being here, guys. You heard what they do. You see that they're on YouTube. Go and subscribe and like. They have great platforms for you to follow, especially the ladies. Now, I want to go ahead and kick this thing off, guys, with a question. We're talking about traditional femininity and the way that it's dying. A lot of people say it's dead. And then modern femininity is alive, but it has different forms of femininity. And so I want to start out by asking each one of you, do you consider yourself a modern woman or a traditional woman, and why? We'll start with I'll let my co-host go first, and then we'll go from there.
Am I a modern or a traditional? I guess those are the only options, huh? I'm definitely
well, if you want, we'll get to that other ad in a minute. Go ahead, though.
Can we define it first before we start?
That's
absolutely. Well, listen, I'm a man, so I'm not going to define what that is. I would allow you, since you brought it up, Miss Hill, define what it is to be a modern woman and what it is to be a traditional woman.
Oh, I don't know. That's why I was like, we'll let Tawana define it.
Yeah.
Listen, you know, Cannon, me and you. I mean, come on, we think alike. I feel like this, okay? Femininity evolves, so no way am I still traditional. There's just no way. I've been taught differently. I went to school. I didn't do traditional things, right? Like I wasn't raised to be a wife, a mama, and that's it. Like I was raised to kind of like go to school, get an education, I've been in management. I've done all types of different things. So I guess that would consider me modern. I know that's what people say is modern femininity. So I guess I fit into that more so than traditional. I'm definitely not traditional. Like I'm not an at-home wife. I'm not Joan Cleaver. I'm not that. Not at all. No.
So one thing is an at-home wife,
right?
And a stay-at-home mom.
I don't know. I'm just trying. I'm thinking.
I'm taking notes, y'all.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess if I knew where they was headed, but I don't think I'm traditional. No.
I don't necessarily think it's career choice whether you stay at home or work that makes you modern or traditional. I think it is your mentality. I think a modern woman is more have a feminist mentality, which is I'm putting career as a motivator for me. Usually that's number one. It's women being equal to men is a modern idea that a lot of modern women have. And it's complete opposite as far as with traditional women put family as number one. Traditional women believe that their man is the leader and that they're subservient usually to their man. They believe that men and women are not equal. Traditional roles, gender roles, traditional women believe girls wear pink, boys wear blue. So that's traditional mind state. So not career necessarily, but where your head is at, I think is what modern women and traditional women, that's the difference.
So Courtney, what time frame would you say?
I'm sorry?
What time frame would you say the tradition starts for this idea of like black and pink and women and men are equal and all that? Like when we start with the tradition, like what time period would you say for that view?
Well, my traditional views come from being a Christian woman. Mm-hmm. So I dated back from when God created woman and the role of a woman as a helpmate. So when I talk about being traditional, it's not of what the world sees, is what my God told me I should be. So if you want to date it back to Christianity. Okay. So that's where I get my views from for being a traditional woman.
Also, when we talk about pink and blue, I mean, we can, since I'm the oldest one on here, I'm sure all of us can remember, sugar and spice and everything nice. So that equated to little girls being sweet, kind, and pink, obviously associated with girls. I mean, and we still do that now when we have the gender reveals. The blue is the boy, the girl is the pink. So I think that is part of it. I do concur with what Courtney's saying with respect to the mindset, because in as much as I wasn't taught to be a wife per se, I knew there were gender roles based on what I saw in my grandparents' home. But even when we talk about women, I'll just use my husband's mother as an example. She had a job and went to work every day, just like his father did. But she still deferred to him for the major decisions. She still cooked every day for the family. So the house was still her domain in as much as she had a job, a career. So I think to that point, it's when we have chosen career over every other thing. And I don't think it's necessarily conscious, because I don't think I consciously said that I'm going to pursue my military career, my federal career at the expense of having a family, but that is definitely what happened.
Anybody else want to hop in there on those definitions of that?
I think, yeah, and I think we're headed in the right direction. I'm grateful that Courtney was able to bring a little bit more clarity for everyone to understand, because that's the same mindset that I had in regards to traditional and modern. Oh, and shout out to everybody with blue on in the building. I was like, look at great minds thinking alike. What's up? So, anyway, I was excited about that. I was like, oh, look at that. And I had on red all day and changed because I was trying to wear my waist trainer. Anyway,
We got the ladies with the red lips too.
I know. Dang, we just all over the board, man, all the way around. So I will say for myself, I am more traditional mixed with modern, right? I have very traditional ways. My family comes first, even in the career choices that I've made. Even with me leaving corporate and becoming an entrepreneur, it became very important for me not only to provide for my family, but making sure that I was not spending countless hours to meet certain income goals in order to be the mother that I wanted to be. It was most important for me, and how I even train my agents, to build out, what does your family structure look like first? What does that look like? Because that's really the whole point of financial independence. It's not for me chasing a dollar. It's about me being that Courtney mother I wanted to be and going to PTA meetings. That was what I wanted to be. So, I wanted to be the mom who, if my teenager is going through some different things, I'm not so busy with work, I don't have time to sit and hug her or go get a manicure or pedicure with her or whatever else she needs, or being able to be there for my mate. So, those are very important things. As far as traditional as well, I still raised my daughter in the mindset of what I saw my grandparents model in front of me, and that is the man hold the door, the man do certain things. We're not going to, unless he's not here, we're not taking out no trash. You can feel however you feel about it. I'm not taking no trash out. I'm just not unless it's just I'm just not. Okay. So it's the same thing, even with certain roles or whatever the case may be, I'm not going to do that. So many roles are still very traditional. However, I do understand the mindset of, women getting their education, working, all of that. For some reason, this balloon, y'all, it ain't blew all week. Now I get on here with y'all, it's blowing. So, oh my Lord. But so certain things as far as being modern, I do understand where women want to be heard or feel like they haven't been heard. But I feel like there's still more power in us being heard and understanding our role. Being just traditional and being loved and protected.
Okay. Anybody? No, so Genesis, I want to welcome Genesis to the show tonight.
Hey, y'all. Genesis.
Book of Genesis in the building. Make sure you go subscribe to Book of Genesis as well. Who was about to speak? Someone was about to speak.
I was just saying welcome to Genesis. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, I just wanted to jump in real quick, because what I'm hearing is all the women pretty much explain femininity in a nutshell, and it's basically just those attributes, those behaviors, those roles that are generally associated to women that society pretty much construct. It's what society deems at that time to be a feminine role. Whether it was back in Christianity when God created Adam and Eve, and he said, hey, here, you're helpmate, right? And then as we know it as Black people, how our moms, like she was mentioning earlier, how her grandmother had a role in the household to where she took care of the household. The husband, yeah, he went out. Yes, she worked. Yes, she did all that. But she was the main manager of the house. And I share that same view. I'm a bit split. You know, I am traditional, but I'm definitely modern. Yes, I want to be seen as a strong woman, especially in the military. I was a construction engineer, white male dominated society. And of course, I needed my little 5'2", you know, self to be heard and seen. So of course I showed myself strong in those areas. However, I was still soft as a mother to attend those PTO meetings. Those, you know, I'm still a team mom on my youngest son football team and things like that, and still show myself to be a woman. And yes, when I'm dating, I'm not taking out that trash because that's a male role. But you guaranteed I'm gonna wash your clothes, I'm gonna fix your meal. You probably ain't gonna fix your plate, especially if I'm in the house, because that's the traditional part of me. And I think we as women sometimes get that softness, that tenderness misconstrued when we think about the word being submissive. That's a scary word for some of us women. We hear that word and we like, child, not today. You won't find me today being submissive. But that's not so much. Our men, it's so many layers to it, because it goes back to when grandma was taking care of the house and daddy was bringing in everything, grandpa was bringing in everything, you know, and she used those resources to take care of the household, and she provided resources as well. But when the Black man was removed from the household, that kind of shifted our narrative as women, how soft and how strong we could be, because we went from being in that role to where we thought a man is what we needed to survive. And when we were shown that it ain't necessarily true, but then we were also given a system to rely on as well. So that also made some changes in regards to culture and society and how we see women. So it depends on what year you'll get a different definition of femininity. So
that I agree with you 100%. And look, we got the same here today. Okay, with the little hat. All right, I like it. You know? But I agree with what you just said. And the reason why I wanted to ask the ladies or kind of get a baseline on like our definition of kind of femininity for what we're talking about is that it's like difficult to nail down specifically, because the textbook definition of feminine is literally attributes normally associated with females. And it's like that could be in anything depending on what the culture is. So I was trying my best, right, to figure out and find out and define this thing, right? Because I'm just like that. I need to know the facts, right? So what I found was that the way that we generally talk about traditional femininity and the way that we're discussing it now is more closely associated with what's called like the cult of womanhood. It's a theory. And it's relating to like the beginning of the 19th century. And this was when, because the male as the sole breadwinner is a very new concept in this country. That did not come about until the beginning of the 19th century. Before that, it was a more family economic system where like everybody worked. Like the kids was working, the parents was working, like everybody was working. And it wasn't until post-industrial period where they had factories and things like that, and men could go work and make that income outside the home, and it could sustain like the entire family, that women were kind of expected to stay home just to like rear the children. And so what I found that aligns with a lot of the ways that we discuss femininity right now is that there were 4 virtues, and it's like piety, which is a religion that values, that the women need to be in the home, and they don't need to be controlled by their longings, right? They don't need to worry about intellectual pursuits. You know, that's not what you need to be worried about. You know, we don't care about a woman's education, you know, that same kind of thing. The next one was purity, which is their virginity. And it says it's a woman's greatest treasure. They can't lose it until marriage night. They got to remain committed to only their husband, right? So that's another part of it. Submission is a part of it. And it says that a true woman was required to be submissive and as obedient as little children, because men were regarded as women's superiors by God's appointment. Then the last one is domesticity, and that's a woman's proper place is in the home as a mother and a wife, and she needs to create a refuge for her husband. Like she needs to do that, all that home stuff, whatever, because he's able to work outside the home. So I do agree with what you were saying, that it does shift for what the needs are, for how you express your femininity, depending on what the society needs at that time. But even coming up with this and finding this really applied to white women, right? Because this was never really reserved for Black women, because during that whole time when I was looking it up, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, we you know, we didn't really have that primary breadwinner system until much later, probably like closer to the 60s, that a lot of our men were actually able to enter the workforce in those numbers to be able to attain that kind of American dream. So I think that we just need to understand that it is agile. We do live in modern times, and the way that we relate to each other does shift based on what is going on socially at the time and what's needed. So we can't, there's nothing wrong with like traditions and things like that, but we can't stick in things that work at a different time and think that they're going to work in new times, especially when there's new things going on. That's all.
All right.
Well,
Before anybody else,
I think not.
hold that thought real quick. Hold that thought. Okay. So we got some super chats I wanted to just bring out real quick, and I'll let you guys continue to cook. We have No Captivity in the building, representing Tawana G in the building. He said, you in the building tonight. All right. We have JT Coin Rings. Thank you for your $1.99 as well. And then we have the Unsolicited Security Bosses in the building tonight with her $20 super chat. All right. Thank you so much.
Freezy.
And for Security Boss, I'm going to give you Sister Shirley. Thank you. All right, so we were back to, we were back to who was about to speak? Somebody was about to go. Yeah, TJ, go ahead, TJ.
I think that's very true. I think in totality or holistically, you know, maybe things that worked in the past cannot be necessarily prudent for times now. However, there's something to be said for such virtues that do transcend time. For instance, you know, when I think of femininity, and I just heard a song the other day by Stevie Wonder, you know, when you talk about femininity, the essence of femininity, even if we're talking about now, then versus now, it goes to a level of softness that many women, myself included at one time, did not have. Largely to the point that Queen Smiley is talking about, because you will be growed real when I will have my uniform on, make no qualms about it. You will get growed completely real. And people still call me to this day because I don't play. However, in relationships, though, that's where it began to be a problem. Because when I was not able to take off that leadership role and allow myself to be soft, to be demure, to be deferring, that is what I was showing my daughter, who said that on my show, who said that I showed her how I dominated in relationships. When you dominate, that is not feminine. Mm-hmm. It just isn't. So that, you know, there's certain, it's obvious that it does not necessarily work that for most, that the man is the only breadwinner in most cases. That's not feasible in most cases. But what should be feasible, and I think sometimes we miss the mark, and I say we because I definitely did, even when we are career women who have amassed or a certain level of success, sometimes we have a tendency to tower that over our men, whether we intend to do it or not, because we're awful proud of our accomplishments. I know I am. And we have a tendency to not, like I said, not intentionally, but we, especially if we're in leadership, we're in leadership at home too. And that's a no bueno in most instances, because a man who is in his manliness is not going to be okay with that.
Miss TJ, would you say that you were softer before you went into the military?
No.
Because, I was gonna ask that point. So when you finish, I'm gonna add a little.
No,
because put a pin right there.
Because in my profile, you know, y'all know I met my husband online, and in my profile, I said, as the oldest child born to a single mother, okay, who had me at 17. So really, I kind of grew up with my mom, feeling like it was my responsibility to help take care of stuff too. So I got that. Then I'm a single mom myself, and I'm a military officer in 2 branches of the military. So that was a big no. But the thing about it, I thought because I could look really cute in my clothes and I had my hair done and my makeup that I associated that with femininity. However, when I opened my mouth, I would dress you up one side and down the other. So no. And it wasn't, I didn't. And it wasn't until a series of failed relationships, to include my ex-husband, my daughter's father, and I'm like, I'm a great gal. How come I keep not? But I was trying to be a mother to men, and most men. Now there's some men that might be okay with it, but most men are not. They're not going to be okay with it for a long period of time anyway.
Yeah. I was going to say that you're really bringing to light or bringing up in this conversation a really important factor, which is, we learn to be feminine from our mothers primarily, or not to be feminine from our mothers and from other women around us. We pick up certain things that become like a habit, right? Being caring, nurturing, like we carry the spirits of the women around us, especially our moms, if they're the ones who are, raising us, whoever is raising us, we often carry their spirits. And, if they have a giving spirit, if they have a kind spirit, we carry those spirits. And sometimes without even having to think about it, it becomes a part of who we are. And then certain habits, I think some of you all were mentioning them. I think you did. Is it Genesis that mentioned how, if a man is or if a woman's in the house, or no, you said if a man's in the house, you don't take out the trash. I grew up in that way too. If a man was in the house, my sister and I, and of course not my mom, didn't take out trash. If we were in the house, the men in the house didn't wash dishes, that, and that is just like, it's like second nature to me. Like if I'm at anybody's house, I feel like a man shouldn't be washing dishes. And I carry those things. And I know it might seem a little outdated to some people, and that doesn't encompass all of femininity. But my point is that, we learn these things from the women around us. And so to your question, Black man, honestly, I don't think femininity has changed. I think that girls at one point stopped learning what that looked like, So, yeah. And I want to also acknowledge Cannon's point that it changes a bit according to the needs of society. I can see that. And we have in our community, Black women have been working hard, slaving hard and sharecroppers and beaten. And we've been through a lot of things, right, that could have stripped away our femininity. But even in those circumstances, I think that you can still hold on to femininity. You can still be kind and nurturing and thoughtful and all those things.
Yeah, I had a question for Kenan. When you pulled those up and specified that some of our ideas was from white women, and you said that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that some of that ideas that we have with the man being provider was started in the 60s. Say that again. When did you say that? What was the
no, I didn't say that. I said the idea of how we discuss femininity today, or traditional femininity, a lot of it is rooted in the dominant society, which is white society, ideal of what femininity is, which has been traditionally attributed to white women. Traditionally, society has not attributed those virtues or values to Black women. And I was saying that the breadwinner, as the male being the single breadwinner, came at the beginning of the early 19th century, and Black men were able to access that as a reality for their families later, closer to the 60s, where they could get good jobs, government jobs, things like that, and they could get a house and they could have their woman stay home and things like that. It wasn't until later that Black men were able to access that idea of the single male breadwinner, because before it was a family system where everybody worked.
Well, I want to push back on that, because one of the biggest errors that we've seen in our Black community was after Reconstruction was back in the 1800s. And that was the biggest boom as far as financially for men, because they started owning multiple of businesses which they ran. And they were sole providers. And this was back in the 1800s. So I want to push back on that.
Well, the families worked for the businesses. Like, it was employed by the businesses. That's why people used to have so many children. So that's what I said. The family contributed to the income. They didn't do it by themselves. The breadwinner is the man working outside the home, and the kids like going to school and doing whatever, and the woman staying in the home and doing stuff and not bringing any income. That idea is what I was talking about.
So even with that, like I said, the businesses were started, primarily it was men that were starting these businesses. It could have been the woman that helped, the family that helped, again, the woman being the helpmate. But even back, if we talk about our ancestors and back in the day before we even arrived here, the idea of man being a provider, woman working in home or being a helpmate was still prevalent back in our ancestors, being hunters and gatherers. Men were doing that. The women were cooking it up. So the idea of a women,
it depends on which society you're talking about, because it was more egalitarian, because the women and the children also gathered and hunted as well in a lot of societies.
Okay. So from my research, it was majority of African societies. And if you want to pull up different Yoruba tribes like that, but majority of societies in Africa traditionally has always had men be out front of providing for the family, and the mother and children helping dad in that provision. So it's always been dad provider, mom help, children help as needed. It's never been a time, majority, where women was equal to men as far as providing for the home. And even in today, when we have careers, our careers are, even when we look at our men usually make more. They usually are the provider, even though we help, and our help is needed to have a 2-parent household, 2-parent income, but it's still, statistically, men has always made more and provided more.
Well, the reason why I made the differentiation between how the family system used to work, the family economy, versus having that single breadwinner whole idea, or the way that we've done it for a very short period of time, is because even though you say it that way, it's fine, but they still depended on that family system for survival. Like, the men couldn't do it by themselves, the women and the children couldn't do it by themselves. They needed that for survival. When you had the single breadwinner strategy, it required the woman to totally and completely depend on the man for survival. That's the difference. Therein lies the difference. Before, it was more interdependent, because they all had to do that in order to survive, or else they would have died. Like, it just would not have made it. And they also lived in more intergenerational families. So it was a whole network of families that came together and had all their roles and did all of those things. I'm saying that the concept that we want to promote right now is it's like only a century old, of this nuclear, one woman, one man, disconnected from extended families. And the man go out and he make it's put so much stress on a family to try to operate that way, is the reason why I made the distinction. That's the only reason.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point that we brought in too. It's just, I think some of the men have chimed in as well, just talking about how things have changed. Because even though in my home, as I talked about, like having many traditional forms, there's still times that my guy will do things that are not traditional, right? Like, if I'm really tired, or, life has happened and I'm just feeling stressed out, and he feels like being, loving or whatever, he'll do the dishes. He'll do other things around the house that typically is what I typically do, right? But does that make him a weaker man or anything? To me, it makes a man smarter to take certain things off of a woman's plate. So, because that leaves us with more energy for our man. But that's a whole nother topic. But so it's just, we're all growing. We all need each other. So.
Can I say this too? I can say I was raised definitely to be a traditional woman, and I don't disagree with anything that it's been said. I don't look down on my mother as a woman, because when I say she was a textbook definition of wife, she was. I don't say was because my father's deceased now, so she's not married. So, but when you look at the dynamics of a traditional relationships in terms of like, the man's the provider, he's head of household. My father was all of that, but he still participated in the domestic responsibilities also. So it's like, for me, it's kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, I'm 100% traditional, because my parents, they were the perfect example of how a marriage works when a couple work together. Like, it's not all the woman doing this all one thing, and it's not the man doing all this one thing. They work together. And so for me, when I say traditional, it's kind of like not traditional, because like I said, my father was responsible for certain things. My mother was responsible for certain things, but yet my father still worked. He still provided. My mom, she still handled the domestic responsibilities, but at the same time, those were still interchangeable, because my mom still worked. She still helped with the finances. And my father, even though he worked, he still helped with the home front. So like, to me, I just, I guess, to go back to Cannon's like point, it depends on like the society or like the culture that you grew up in. Like, traditional to me is really by what other people, what has been defined is kind of like not traditional in a sense.
Yeah. And I don't want us to do the extremes. I think sometimes we do this a lot on panels where traditional, oh, my man will never pick up a plate. My man will never vacuum the house.
Yeah.
That's just not realistic. Yeah. So again, that's why I said it's the idea of your man being the leader.
Right.
Does that mean the leader's not going to cook here and there? No, baby, I'm sorry. Can you cook? That's just compromise, communication, and just loving on each other, knowing my girl got a hard day. So I don't want it to be the extreme. It's just the idea of understanding that the man leads the household and the woman is supposed to be the submissive helpmate, which means I want to help him lead. And that's really all that means. But yeah, I know Chastity don't want to take out the trash, but if sometimes you might have to take a little light skin butt out there and take it out. Now, it might not be every time, but sometimes things happen that way. So I don't want to get into you this and this, because it can be extreme. And we understand that with everything, there has to be a balance.
Right.
Also, real quick,
for the most part.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, TJ. You got it, TJ.
No, I was just thinking I Wikipedia this, but but I think in a sense, instead of, when we look at it, instead of just specific roles, what I found too, I think it is a sense of characteristics that some like Ashley Michelle was talking about, that maybe we have kind of lost due to having to basically survive. Not necessarily intending to be, but when I'm looking at it, it says traits such as nurturing, sensitivity, sweetness, supportiveness, gentleness, and warmth. It talks about passivity. Well, when I think of passivity, you better not tell Black women not to talk much. You be growed real. But there's something to be said about not talking as much. I'm just saying. There's something to be said about that. Cooperativeness, expressiveness, modesty. That's, there's not a lot of modesty going on these days. Let's keep it 1,000, okay? Humility, empathy, affection, and tenderness. Can we get a little tenderness? Yeah, can we get a little tenderness?
Yeah.
So, and being helpful, I think. So again, as opposed to just the roles as it relates to chores and division of duty, I think just the mindset, because Mr. Randolph, he'll wash the dishes too, and I'll wake up and the dishes are done, and he cooked breakfast. But again, the tenderness, or he's washed the dishes, and the tenderness would be, well, you put the dishes in the wrong space. That's not tenderness. That's not tenderness. Well, the cups really go over here. That's not understanding.
That's why I was just about to go, TJ, before you mentioned that, because I wanted to spin this back to.
Before you do, hold that thought, because I want to get this super chat. Hold that thought, sweetheart. So we have Sir Hell Speaks in the house tonight with that $9.99 super chat. Appreciate you, my brother. Also, guys, I see 75 people watching, and I see 46 likes. Let's get those likes up, please. Get those likes up. We got to get them up. There they go. They're going up now. I appreciate you guys hitting that like button. And I did this for you. I did this for you, Sir Hale. Here we go. that was I Hop Runny. For Sir Hello Pete. Thank you for the $9.99 super chat. I ain't changed Smiley, Miss Smiley. I haven't changed at all. I'm still crazy. All right, so listen.
Still a mess.
Yeah, still a mess. So go ahead, Miss Smiley, and finish your thought.
But like we started off trying to define femininity, and it's those attributes, and they change definitely with cultures. Earlier, I wanted to mention we were talking about relationships, and you had brought this up, TJ, about us being not so much as submissive, but being that ultimate partner, right? Here's some prime examples. When a man does do the dishes, and we definitely come back behind, oh, you put the cups in the wrong place. Where is this? That I was looking for this. I had made a note. Us being so opinionated as women, sometimes it's okay to keep our mouths closed when things ain't going the way we think they need to go. And I'm telling you, I'm one of those ones, okay, where if stuff ain't happening the way I think it should happen, well, you ever thought about doing? Oh, you put that over there? What you think about this? We always got something to say. Sometimes our men just want to be men, and they want that initial thought that they had to be the best and greatest thought they ever had. Let them have it sometime. And go in the room and call your girlfriend. Girl, look at this fool out here. Look at this. Gonna shock the shit out of himself. Right. We have to give it to them. We have to allow them that space, and it comes directly from that. And I think there was a comment by Corey Hagate. Is it Haga? It's one of the comments that come across the screen. He said something that was very important. I wrote down earlier when I was looking at some of this stuff. When we look at femininity, we see those attributes being soft, compassionate, tender, modest. Do we not want that from our men? We want that from them. Yes. We want that in our households. We want that in our families. We want that in our relationships. We want them to have that with our children. But when they do it, and we truly don't like them like that, ooh, we'll cut them up one side and down the other. You hear me? Because he all kind of pumps. So always calling and texting. Me and my friend girl had this conversation just earlier today. How often do we want a man to text? How often do we want a man to call? When do we want to see him soft? Because it's equal. Not so much it's equal, but it goes both ways. A man wants us to be all those things, and we want our men to be that as well. But oftentimes we as Black women, when we find a man that way, we think they're not strong enough to handle us. I'm going to say us, because I'm in there.
Molly is preaching a word to
you hear me?
So, can we give her a hand clap of praise tonight?
Look, we have to.
She is preaching a word.
My sister, I don't know if she's watching or not, my friend girl, I told them to go ahead and tune in, but we have these conversations all the time. When do we as women, because like most of you, my mama was a homemaker, okay? That was the word back then. My mama didn't work till I was in junior high, almost high school with you. You hear me? When we moved to Rayville. I'm from California by way of Louisiana, and that was the first time my mama ever worked. Because my daddy was that guy. He brought everything home. My mama took care of that house. She ran us. She had 6 of us. I'm the baby of 6, and they probably think I'm the craziest too. But hey, it is what it is. So I had a part of that traditional, upbringing. But then also me seeing my mother in that state, I thought for a moment she was weak. Okay. But she just loved her husband. You hear me? She loved and she respected her husband till she couldn't no more.
I think.
Hallelujah!
So you hear me?
Hallelujah!
I thought for a moment she was weak, but she loved and cared and respected him. And she also loved and cared for us. And me and my mama had this conversation. I said, girl, let me tell you something. Don't sit up here and cry talking about what you couldn't do for us because you didn't have the resources to provide those things. What you showed us was something that a lot of people hadn't received. And that's how to love. How to truly love, how to give that love, how to instill that love. I say, because when you have, my mama had 6 kids, she got 20 plus grandkids, and she got some great grands on the way. Do you hear me? Okay. And she is surrounded by every last one of them, most holidays, definitely on birthday, Christmas, you name it. They having a celebration in Rayville for the 4th, and everybody coming together. But that's the thing. We think that part of being submissive is wrong. Being submissive ain't all the way negative. It brought some things out of us that's not being poured into us today. Because when women were raised that way, when the male was the sole breadwinner and the woman was the homemaker, she taught a girl how how to dress appropriately, where she can put it out there without showing it all. You know, the men, they showed women what they wanted out of a man, what type of breadwinner they wanted. You know, some of those attributes, if he treated the woman right, what she was going to look for. I got some coworkers that I work with in Louisiana value and adore their fathers because their father was that guy, and they're looking for their fathers, which is part of the reason why they ain't found no man yet, because some of them don't exist no more. You hear me? So we got a lot of things we need to fix, ladies, and we need to start with ourselves. Okay, we need to have that. We need to look ourselves in the mirror. And I'm saying we because I had to check myself. I was dating a guy. We were talking about buying property, and not every idea, but it was something as simple as, hey, I'm gonna build a mailbox and put it out on the side of the road. And I'm like, well, you think we need to get a P.O. box too? Well, why we need to get a P.O. box? We got a mailbox. He thought that I was being combative. He thought that I was trying to challenge his authority. I wasn't trying to do that. I was just great minds, put two and two together, two heads better than one, all that kind of, that's what I thought I was doing. But I was minimizing him as a man, and I wasn't realizing it, So it wasn't until after the fact that I'm like, girl, you guys should have shut up sometime and let him build a mailbox and let him come up with the idea that we need a P.O. box once the package got sold. I was trying to prevent the package from being sold. Yeah, but it's small stuff like that, that we as women, we need to stop, because that don't make us strong. That don't make us kind. That don't make us compassionate. That don't make us a bunch of nothing but by ourselves. You hear me? So
that by ourselves part.
You hear me?
Okay, man. Listen. Anybody want to follow up?
I think I'm gonna be piggybacking off what she got to say all night. I feel like because
hold on, before you do, Miss Hill, wait a minute. Let's take a break because I need a break too. Jesus have mercy. I think the bishop came in here. We got a cash out from Sir Hell Species at Benevolence offering for gospel she's preaching on tonight. So let's go ahead. And for that smooth transition, I gotta give you Deacon Johnson. My God. Okay.
Now, he get down if you got to look at your feet. If you got to look down at your feet, you doing something.
No, you just said like a whole bunch of words, okay, that resonated. And what the first thing that came into my mind when you were speaking is trauma, right? Trauma response. And I think that for so many of us, and like I always like to have these conversations and make sure that we have a total view of Black women, especially as people first, right? Because sometimes we could narrow it down to like stereotypes and they get like down to that, but it's a lot of trauma in our communities, right? And a lot of those responses do come from trauma response and responding to environmental factors. So like, I agree with you 100% that we could tend to do that. And so to your point, when you actually brought up the traits that are considered feminine versus masculine, like you have feminine, which is not aggressive, dependent, easily influenced, submissive, passive, home-oriented, easily hurt emotionally, indecisive, talkative, gentle, sensitive to others' feelings, like that type of thing. Then you have on the masculine side, where you have aggressive, independent, not easily influenced, dominant, active, worldly, decisive, tough, rarely cries, logical, like those types of attributes. But when you look at the attributes on both sides, the feminine and the masculine, you understand that they are behaviors that can be attributed to either sex at any given time, right? And I think that is so important for balance. I just think balance is important because we all encompass masculine and feminine energy, because there's moments when those things are necessary. Sometimes it's necessary for me to be assertive, right? And sometimes it's necessary for me to be softer. Like it's just that way. But I think since so many of us do have a trauma response, because the first thing that popped into mind when you said nurturing, especially in relation to like Black women, is I thought about how many times I've heard in the Black community, especially when you were saying like a man being soft and stuff like that, is how like a lot of mothers out of love, like for their sons or for their children, but we beat our children a lot of times because what do we say? I would rather beat them than the predominant society kill them, right? I mean, is that nurturing and soft? But or is it a trauma response? You know what I mean? To the predominant thing, right? And I'll just say, like, for me, like my grandmother was a huge, oh my gosh, she was so instrumental in raising me. Like that woman, superhero, right? In my eyes. I saw my grandmother cry one time in my entire life, and it broke me. Because I didn't even realize that, like, this is what I mean about sometimes we don't even like exhibit like that emotional and like those other sides. Like she was very nurturing, she took care of everybody, but I never saw her break a sweat. Our house burned down when I was like 5 years old, and I didn't see that lady cry. Like it was like just on to the next thing. What's the next thing to do? Let me take care of this. Let me do that. Like just handling business. Like she didn't play no games. But when she got sick, when I became an adult, she got sick and she couldn't move. She couldn't do anything on her own, and she had to be taken care of. That was the first time I saw that lady in tears. And it made me realize she was a person, right? Like she was a human that, you know, should have access to the wide range of those types of emotions, to vulnerability. You don't have to be strong all the time, or you shouldn't have to be strong all the time. You shouldn't have to carry everybody's weight all the time. So I think that is important.
She froze.
That ain't nothing but the devil. Okay, listen.
I think we may have lost Cannon, but I want to bring Cannon's point back to TJ's point earlier when she mentioned her daughter, and how that relationship kind of not so much as happened, but how that relationship was affected. That's the word I'm looking for. How that relationship was affected, her being in the military and having that leadership role and having to wear that uniform. Same thing like your grandmother, my daughters. And one thing, I used to be shamed that I was a young mom. I had my first daughter at 15, and then another one probably 3.5 years later, but still graduated college, 2 degrees, military career. I'm an HR professional, you know, I'm what we think we're bossing in our lives right now. So I'm making it happen, and making it happen well. However, doing what your grandmother did is exactly what I did to my children. I was so strong, they never got a chance to see me cry really until I was an adult, like now adult. They didn't see me cry when we were struggling financially. And when I cooked dinner and I fixed their plate, if I didn't nibble while I was cooking, I didn't eat and I just let them have it. They didn't see me cry, you know, when the marriage failed and I was left in debt trying to piece it back together. They didn't see me cry, you know, when I was beat down, you know, trying to have a military career, you know, all while, you know, having a miscarriage along the way and everything. They didn't see me cry through any of that. You know, they didn't see me cry through the failed relationships. They didn't see any of that. And now that I'm an adult, having to show them and tell them I truly have emotions, you know, I just didn't have the time to show y'all that piece because I was too busy trying to fix it. And it took me to go to counseling for my counselor to say, well, Sylvia, listening at you, you've been digging in the dirt, trying to make it happen so fast, trying to make sure everybody else taken care of. You never looked up to look at yourself. That's what your grandmother did. And now when she saw herself, I had surgery in 2018, and then had to have emergency surgery later on that year. And it was then when I'm sitting around, couldn't move on my own. So I'm just about in tears, like, oh my God, Lord, just give me the strength to just make sure these kids gonna make it, you know, because I can't be right here. That's a hurt feeling. When you're used to being that person, you're used to being the one everybody's relying on. Me and my sister, she's one that we have this conversation all the time, and we both cry together because we don't let our kids see us cry, you know, so we get on the phone and we do it with each other, to allow ourselves to be soft and vulnerable in a space where we don't think it's safe outside of our bedroom, you know. So it's a tough road, but that's that same relationship that my oldest daughter, I lost her for a couple years because I didn't allow her that space to be just as vulnerable with me and me sharing those feelings and emotions with my children. And so they suffer in relationships, you know, some have attachment issues, you know, some, you know, those broken relationships and, you know, and then they got the attitude too, my mama this, you know, I can't tell me that, you know. So they're carrying that, like I think it was the young lady with the hoop earrings, ponytail. She was mentioning we carry people's spirit with them. They carrying my spirit around, and that don't even belong to them. But it's hurting their relationships as young women. So we have to do some work, ladies. We got work to do.
Ooh,
so if you're raising some young women,
let's get Genesis.
We got work.
Genesis, good evening.
Hey y'all.
Good to see you, hon. You
Sorry
sitting
for
over there
my
in the,
tardiness.
oh no, you're fine, sugar. You're fine, sugar. I'm glad that you're here. As you
Yes.
can, I got my preacher voice on because I feel like I'm sitting in church. So Genesis, the question
Yes.
was, hell, I don't even remember the question. It's been so much preaching here. But hell, somebody tell her the question. Hell, I done forgot. I just didn't. But no, go ahead. Go somebody. Go ahead.
The first question you asked was, do you consider yourself a traditional or modern?
Yes.
Yeah, but we got into defining femininity, and I was
Yes.
so it
Yes.
changed into
Baby,
some
you
of.
know what?
But do you consider yourself traditional or
Yeah.
whatever? Mm-hmm.
And in my heart, I'm a traditional woman. In life, I'm a little bit of both. Because now I am finding myself as a single parent for the first time in my life. And I still have a career, and I'm balancing or wearing multiple hats. I'm a little bit of both. I would prefer to be traditional. That's what I know. That's how I was raised. Those are the beliefs that I hold near and dear. But we don't always get served the hand that, or dealt the hand that we think we're going to be dealt, and we just have to move accordingly. So that's what I find myself doing.
Okay. All right. All right. So Tawana, you got any questions you want to ask the ladies?
Yeah, because they were talking about femininity and all the qualities. And even when you think about like narcissistic traits, right? You have to meet at least 5 of them to be considered narcissist. But when you talk about femininity, it's really so fluid that it sounds like if a woman does something, she can be considered not feminine, right? Like, what if you have or you possess several qualities, but you don't possess one? So I think that question is for the panel is, how many qualities in combinations do it take to be considered feminine? Because I hear people often call women masculine when they see them in one space, even if in the rest of the spaces they do have those qualities. So yeah, just want to know, like, what dominant traits do you consider to be feminine, and how many do a woman have to possess in order for you to be considered feminine?
I wouldn't say necessarily you have to have these 5 different traits to be feminine. It's just pretty much an attitude. So it's how you would treat your leader of your job. When he's talking, you listen, you follow instructions. If you have something to say, bring it up. But again, your manager, your leader, your husband is going to have the ultimate say so. Not over talking your husband. I mean, so these are the attributes that we do on a job. To a manager would be the other attitude that you would have at a home with your husband. It's just being a helpmate. It's listening. It's being able to follow. It's being able to be submissive to him. So I don't necessarily think it's you better be gentle. You better be if you're a submissive woman, they all come into play. And it's your attitude. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ashley.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, we're going. Let's get Chastity right after you, then Chastity.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ashley, then Chastity. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, just to answer your question, Tawana, and I don't claim to know for sure, but I don't necessarily think you have to have all the qualities. For instance, I think about, you might be gentle and kind and generous, but maybe you are struggling with having some patience. And so you need to work on developing your patience, So I don't know if you can say, okay, well, if you don't have this, then you're not feminine, right? I think I agree with what Courtney was saying. If I understand it right, it's like it's just a combination of different qualities and mindsets that are exemplified in different ways. And we're, as women, we're not going to be perfect, right? So we might still be working on some of those qualities. But I do think that there are some qualities that, like, if that are that you have that can greatly decrease your femininity. like if you're just really abrasive or if you're just mean, if you go from 0 to 100 all the time. So I think there are some qualities where if you have that kind of attribute, it greatly diminishes your femininity. I think so. Anyway.
I think that I think
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I
I think he said Chastity name.
Yeah, Chastity.
Oh, my
Chastity name.
No,
And then you guys can go
Chastity.
next. Yeah. Go ahead, Chastity.
Thank you. So definitely great point, Ashley. Piggybacking on what Courtney brought up, the point of is just us, how we treat our managers, right? How we treat people at the workforce. What I want to even remind us of and challenge us all as women is broadening that, right? Just being patient with one another, like not over talking our girlfriends. Courtney can have had a stressful day at work. Why is it that I can't sit in that space as her girlfriend in a feminine form and just listen? Just listen. Like if Courtney on 20, me sitting in my space of femininity will remind my sister to bring it down. Like you are not yelling at that man at work no more, girl. It's us too. Let's bring it down. Let's find, like, let's have a glass of wine. Let's pray. Let's do whatever we got to do to shift the energy. So I just want to remind us, and even for myself, because it's something that's very important to me. We always talk about femininity, but we only relate it to our man. What I related to is existing, cohabitating in planet Earth with everyone, right? Mm-hmm. It's not my goal to, we're in a supermarket and somebody's pissed off about something. I'm not about to meet your masculinity with more masculinity, because then it's going to be fist to cuff from there. So in those spaces, we have to still remember where our femininity is very important. It's more than just our guys, you know what I'm saying, our husbands or whomever you're in a relationship with, but we're all in relationship with one another in humanity. So I just look at everything as a bigger macro aspect other than just individualized in just smaller things, because how you do one thing is how you do everything, how you relate to one person. And if you feel like only your husband deserves the feminine side of you, then your children miss out on the real side of you. Like my daughter has seen me cry. My daughter knows what it feels like if things didn't come out right. Somebody stole something at work. My business didn't work out. This didn't work. But she's seen that side. She's seen the side of me praying. She's seen just, a lot of different things. And it doesn't take away from me being her mother. It just reminds her that no matter how great she think I am, I still have feelings, and there's still beauty in everything and beauty in the ashes. So that's my biggest perspective, is when we talk about this, it's more than just how I relate to my man, but it's how I relate to Miss Cannon, Ashley, Shushu. I'm still big up my sisters and all of that. And when things are getting too contentious, you call me pissed off about something, I'm going to sit in that space. However, I have to do that to help you get back into your space. And we, work on it in that space and grow from there.
So it's not a combination of qualities. It's just how you present yourself all the time. Is that?
I think it's always going to be a combination. I think it's always going to be a combination. I don't think it's one particular thing. Like in one aspect, right? Like you can be at work and to TJ and like other women, like, come on, we've all been in the workforce, and even with me being in the military, you're going to be more assertive at times. You're going to be more aggressive in other times, right? You'll be softer in other roles, but it doesn't take away from who you are.
But you think that in those moments, people should call you masculine? Like, do you think that's okay? Like I'm being masculine.
I have a question for Tawana.
I think
I do
want to hear Chastity.
Yeah. Go,
I do want to hear Chastity's response, but yes, I would love to hear the question. But yes, do you think in those moments, like it, because your energy is fluid, is changing, you're in a workplace, so now you have to be a little bit more aggressive in that moment? Do you think you should be called masculine, or that you are masculine, or do you think that you're always exhibiting a feminine persona?
I think that's a great question what you're asking. our roles, because we have masculine and feminine within us, those energies are fluid, right? So when we're at work, I expect you to be a little more assertive. You're not to treat your coworker or people who work for you like they're your children. It's two different things. So yeah, you're gonna have to do a whole TJ face, like, excuse me, and it doesn't make you masculine. You're a leader. That's what you're doing in this moment. But if that same person came to you and was like, yo, I just lost my baby, me and my husband going through something, then you can do a one-off on that. But as largely as whole, you have to display whatever that role defines and present it in that form. So whether it's leading and we're getting ready to go into battle, or whatever your role is, you need to have the energy for that role. But I don't make you a masculine person.
Thank you.
I just think the role of a certain energy, and that's what we do.
Great. I want to piggyback off of that, but I know Shushu was waiting to be heard.
Yes,
so
Shushu. I know, Cannon, you had a question after Shushu. Go ahead.
Yeah. So to your original question, when you said that, do certain traits make you, if they arrive, does that automatically make you like masculine, or or how many characteristics? Anyway, I think that is attributed to like you can, like, certain things you can do, like you can speak up for yourself, you can have a voice, and it doesn't make you masculine. But it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Like screaming at you and cussing you out. That's not a way that if someone like does something wrong to you or disrespects you, like screaming at them, cussing them out, that's one way of handling it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a feminine way of handling it. You know what I mean? Using like profanity and stuff like that. Some people would consider that not feminine at all. And you know what I mean? It's a way of saying what you have to say, or like, getting your point across without being nasty about it, or like without being aggressive. So like, yeah, I mean, because like, let's just be real. Like if you too soft, you too this or too that, people will look at you like you weak and will run over you. So like, there are times you do have to speak up for yourself. Even with your man, you do have to speak up for yourself, but you don't have to like belittle him or emasculate him in the process of doing it. Like you can still get your point across and communicate it to him effectively in a way and still be considered feminine.
Go ahead, Cannon.
Thank you. And I agree with you, Shushu. I just wanted to ask, I wanted to ask and I had a follow-up, but are you familiar with the sapphire caricature of Black women, like the sapphire trope? And like the Jezebel and all. Okay, so the sapphire trope is what was used to like historically justify our exploitation, when we were enslaved. So this whole idea of who we are has existed since we jumped off the boat, right? Or since they dragged us off the boats. And the archetype, it painted enslaved women as impure, strong, masculine, dominant, and aggressive, who drove their children and partners away. And it says this archetype characterizes the Black woman as experiencing disappointment, displeasure, bitterness, or rage because of her significant other. Like this idea of who Black women are has existed all the way since that time, right? So when you ask that question, I guess, about like being called masculine when you're doing certain things, I always wonder, because being a minority, when you have these stereotypes, a lot of times we are jammed into those stereotypes because we're viewed as one-dimensional beings. A lot of times we can't access the full range of emotions as humans because, like you said, as soon as you get mad, now what? You're an angry Black woman, even if the anger was justified. Right. And I was trying to process who in popular culture that I saw, like who is a Black woman that I think general society considers like this feminine, like that would be the stand, like, oh, feminine. And I think the closest that I got to it, or that I could figure out, was like Michelle Obama, right? Our first Black lady or whatever. Like, yeah, like even she was called masculine. Even she was called a man. Even she was called aggressive, and she was called angry Black woman and all of these things. So my curiosity just comes like, how much of this is actually justifiable, and how much is it is just perception, right? Like how much is it perceived? Like again, like if you all brought up the workplace and workspace and things like that. Like I work in corporate America, so I know how many times I've been misunderstood, misconstrued, microaggressions, and all those things. So sometimes you say, well, how do you talk to your boss at work and things like that? depending on the environment and who you're working with, you can speak to them totally normally, but they will interpret you and be like, "Oh, you had," and it's like, "No, I didn't." Like that did not even happen. And I realized that because I'm from the North, but I live in the South now. Totally different cultures, and it was a culture shock to me because in the North, Midwest, we're more direct. We just, we say it, it's okay. And it's not considered rude, aggressive. It's not considered any of that. It's just you're more direct. But when I got here, the perception is that that's rude and aggressive. But am I really being rude and aggressive, or is that how you're perceiving me? Right? So then that's the question. Because I was confused for the longest. Because when I was up there, everybody loved, they're like, "Oh, you so laid back, you so this." And I came down here and people were like, "Oh, you're so aggressive." And I'm like, "What? Like, who? Not me. Like, I don't understand." So my question just becomes, how much of that is reality, or how much of that is of the perception of our behaviors through the lens of those biases? Like, we hold those biases, like we see it repeated back to us time and time again in media, music, everything, like told to us, like, "Oh, this is the stereotype. This is the stereotype." So whenever you exhibit, like you say, a behavior, right? Like, let's say somebody did actually make you angry. Let's say somebody hit your car or something, and you got your baby in the car and, and put your life in danger or something. If you get angry, now you're an angry Black woman. But isn't that justified that a normal person would react angrily in that situation? So a lot of times I feel like it denies us a range of emotions, because if we're going to be honest, I think a lot of us, and especially I see all these professional women up here, I'm sure you have been in situations where you've had to make yourself smaller for fear of being seen as the stereotype, where you've had to bite your tongue, where you're like, "Well, I'm not going to say that because then they're going to say I'm angry," and they're going to say it. So you can't say it a certain way. So I think it kind of puts us in a box sometimes when we're denied our full range of humanity.
So when you guys hear that, like Courtney, I'm sorry. When somebody was about to say something, I didn't want to interrupt you.
I'm sorry. You go ahead.
Oh wait.
No. So when it comes to I'm Courtney. When you hear this, and you hear the ladies expressing these things, what is your thoughts on what they're saying?
I think stereotypes come with a bit of truth in it. And no matter how we try to put it, we can say the sapphire effect or whatnot. The truth is that we tend to be aggressive. There's no ifs, ands, buts or about it. We have been angry. I can't tell you how many times that I have talked and seen Black women that didn't even want to necessarily smile because they're scared of someone might think it's the wrong thing. Or I think a lot of times we put on, or we have this barrier of us where it's hard for us to kind of break it down and be feminine, because we do have a barrier around us, whether it's us protecting ourselves because of trauma or whatnot. But to say a stereotype, it does have an air of truth. And the truth has been, for a long time, Black women have not been pleasant to each other, to our men. You can see it in the media, but the media can only show what the Black women are doing. Love and hip hop, it's love and hip hop, but to say it doesn't happen or that it's false would be an absolute lie. So I don't want to take away from this conversation as if there are some things that we need to be accountable for. There are some things that we have done. There are some things that is justified the angry Black woman told, because we have fit that mold in some way or another. And I don't want us to try to skeet away from the accountability of what we have done. Black women, we have not been perfect. Not saying that we're all evil, but the stereotype exists for a reason, and it's not made up.
Can I ask a question?
Oh.
What can we do? Well, I do want to say, of course, there's always truth in stereotypes. I think the danger in stereotypes, though, is that we misplace them onto people and we associate them with people who are not a part of that stereotype, that thinking. So that's the big danger in stereotypes, and that's why people try to address them, right? But yeah, of course, there's some truth in them. And I just wanted to ask, like, what can we do? I have some ideas about what we as Black women can do to change this image of us. I think it's going to be difficult because it will require a lot of change from us as a whole. But I think also our society is just so programmed to think negatively of us. So it will be challenging. But what can we do?
Ashley, can
I
we
think
answer?
I think it requires us being honest. I think it requires us being honest. I think it requires us being honest with ourselves, because many of us, we will get our hair done, we'll put our makeup on, we'll put a cute little sundress on, and because we may be loving on our man, we describe ourselves as feminine, but then our spirits are really mean, to each other as women, to, sometimes our children, to people we encounter in the streets. And that's why those stereotypes exist. But I think it's impossible for us to define completely what femininity is, because it's subjective. However, I don't think that means that we still shouldn't do the work. And many of us, I think that requires us being honest. If I know that I have this mean streak, then I have to be honest that I have this mean streak. Or, many times with Black women, I see us being mean to each other more so than anybody else being mean to us or disparaging us. And many times we're not honest about, why we are that way. So, where do we start the conversation? I don't know. Of course, it starts with self, and then where we go from there is up to us.
I think we also
wait, Ashley. TJ's next. I'm sorry, and then you can go. Yeah, but go ahead, Genesis. I don't know if you was done.
After Genesis,
but
TJ next.
I'll digress for right now and let TJ go, and I'll chime back in later.
No problem. Thank you.
Well, I wrote a couple of notes because I've been having some wine and I might forget. Well, the interesting thing about I didn't understand or know about this idea of being masculine until I came to YouTube. I just thought that I was being, again, particularly as it related to my career and just being out in the world, that I was just being assertive, standing my ground. But when I look at some of the behavior, particularly after a series of bad relationships that you all know that ended in a domestic violence situation before meeting Mr. Randolph, I can kind of look at some of my behavior and say, okay, well, yeah, that might have been seemingly a little bit aggressive in a sense of a relationship. But when it comes to being in my professional career, if people describe me as masculine, guess what? I'll take that. I'll take it. And the reason why I take it, because as a military officer and as a senior federal employee, I was dealing with men. So I'm going to meet you where you stand. You understand me? So if that means I'm masculine, guess what? Okay. But what I needed to learn is how to turn it off in a personal setting, because there is a time and a place for everything. And that's what I did not know or did not appreciate, because in business meetings, there were times that a man would cut me off because, again, and I said, I'm not done yet. And I would say it to him just like that. But the difference is when I'm talking to my man or talking to my friends, talking to my family, I shouldn't come that way. So there's a time and a place for everything. But I think what we miss sometimes as women, we don't read the room and know when we should and when we should not. That is the difference. And if I hadn't learned that, I would not be married. Because like Miss Smiley said, there's some things my husband thinks. I'm like, okay, that ain't gonna work. But guess what? I just be quiet and I just smile and I just like, okay, honey. But there was a time I would have pointed out, that ain't gonna work. That's dumb. We should do it this way. So again, it's learning to read the room. Now, let me see what else. Femininity versus masculinity. Shit, I forgot what I was gonna say. Go ahead, somebody else go.
Ashley, I know you had something to say. Go ahead.
I wanted to add real quick, two things real quick. What I was going to say earlier, but also to TJ really fast. I think what's important is just discretion or discernment, because I think as women, we don't have to just never voice our opinions like with our husbands or our partners. I think we should. I know some men don't like that, but I think we should. Most men, I think, who are logical and reasonable and fair want you to communicate, what concerns you, your thoughts. I think it's about being respectful, not nagging, not drawing it out, you know what I mean? But we also have to know that not all situations warrant us to say something. And that's not just with, the men we date. That's just really in life, So I think it's about discretion. But I also wanted to say in response to my question, what can we do to combat this negative stereotype? I agree with someone in the chat who said you're not going to get rid of it. I agree, you won't completely get rid of it, but just as a whole, I think we as Black women need to do better with our image. There are some beautiful Black women that represent us well that don't get the spotlight, right? So there are a lot of them out there, right? But it seems like the negative ones, the loud, the overbearing, the rude, the immodest ones, the ones that are just, really kind of dysfunctional thinking and their behaviors are dysfunctional are the ones that we get associated with, right? And I think it's largely because of our media. I think one way that we can change it is by stop supporting. Like, I don't watch, a lot of these shows, Love and Hip Hop, and I used to watch Basketball Wives, like when it first came out, like the first maybe 2 seasons. But shows like that, and I'm not trying to judge nobody. Okay, I want to be clear about that. But I do think strategically, we got to stop supporting that stuff. Like, I remember that show, Being Mary Jane. Do you guys remember Being Mary Jane, that series that came out with Gabrielle Union? And it just showed her as being this sexually indiscretion, this woman that didn't have any sexual discretion, who was really kind of selfish and a little crazy. On one of the episodes that everybody was like just so head over heels about, she stole semen from the man's condom. And I'm just like, really? Like, this is a Black woman. They already stereotype us, right? Why are we entertained by this? Like, even if you think, oh man, that was just crazy, go read it in a book somewhere and don't tell nobody about it, or your friends. Why does it have to be nationalized on TV? Same thing with, and I love Issa Rae, okay? I'm happy for her. But her show, like, I couldn't get into this show. And
Which
Black
one?
women loved it.
Insecure. Oh, Insecure.
Now, I couldn't watch it, but I have heard a lot of it. And from what I understand, she fit every stereotype about Black women. That we will sleep with anybody, we can't keep a relationship.
Wait. Did you watch it?
I didn't, but I heard stuff. That's not what happened.
No, that's not what happened. You need to watch it.
Okay. I'm sorry. I digress.
I mean, there are some stereotypes.
But that's where stereotypes come into play, right, Ash? Like, I agree with you. Like, those things.
Yeah, we gotta be careful. So I was wrong on that one, but I do think as a whole,
can I say this?
Perpetuate a lot of things.
Can I say this though? If even the way we all define femininity is so vague that sometimes it can be confusing. If my daughter was watching us, it's like, okay, what is femininity, right? Like, am I too masculine? Like, she may be confused, and so it is difficult when you're definitely in these spaces, because in real life, nobody's going to be like, you're masculine. Like, nobody ever in my life has ever said that to me. But in YouTube, right, like, you can be called that, which is fine, because on here, I like to be masculine, right? But it's like a thing for me. But I think that it's interesting. Chastity's point is that people always relate it to your man. Like, oh, I'm only going to be feminine because around my man or for my man. But there are women who present to be very soft-spoken and nice, and they have a terrible heart. They're mean, they're cruel, they're angry. Like, and so, a man can be like really fooled by, oh, you're so soft and you're meaner, but like, your sick mama, she probably would never go and take care of her. Like, she might not even think about, caring for your kids or being nice to you. Like, these are things that I naturally think about, and naturally like, oh my God, let me go check on my mother-in-law, right? People don't think like that. Just because you soft and nice don't mean you really nice. So I think we have to be very clear about the characteristic and not the behavior, because my behavior can exhibit a nurturing, kind, loving person, and I don't have to present that way to you in order for people to know that that's my heart and that's who I am. I think we relate behaviors to people's personality and character, and that's what women are learning in this space. Is what I've learned. They're learning to be like robots, like, oh, I'm going to present this way, and then the man gets with them and sees that they're really not kind-hearted. They really are not nice people. They don't have the characteristics to be a wife or a mother or a loving person. And so I always, in these spaces, I always tell women, do not try to learn to be feminine. Try to learn to be a good person. Like, try to really learn to be nurturing and loving, and really be like, not just saying you're soft and you're nice to women, like actually be nice to women, right? Like, say, I know in these spaces that women are not nice to each other, it's just interesting to me. It's like, we will believe what a person is saying, but when they're showing you that they're not that way, we never believe it. We're like, oh no, but she's so soft and she's so nice, but she's a mean person. Like, I know she's evil. So I think that, it's like, we have to be very careful, because I think even the way we define femininity, women think that they can just learn this behavior and that they can just fool men and that they can just be this person. But he's going to know that you don't have a good heart. He's going to know that you're not really nurturing and kind. Like, after he's with you and he sees, like, she actually messy and she don't clean up stuff and she don't have values and morals, like, there is things that you need to be. So I just feel like the way we teach people is just kind of their behavior needs to demonstrate something versus their actual heart being that.
It could be performative.
And so that's why I always ask, like, well, what characteristics and qualities do y'all consider feminine, and how are we really teaching women to be this, or even young girls? Because I want my daughters to watch a channel, because my daughters love YouTube, right? But I want them to watch women who are truly demonstrations of, a soft, kind, nurturing person, not just telling them what to do, but actually demonstrating that behavior to other women, to other people, and actually showing people, like, this is what a woman does, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I don't often see that. Like, I've been around 40-year marriages, 50-year marriages, and none of them had traditional roles. None of them. My aunt, she worked for AT&T for 45 years. She retired, and she hated to clean. Hated. Her house was always like crazy. But my Uncle Dave was like he was like the fixer, the disciplinarian. She was not a disciplinary at all, so she had her roles and he had his roles, but they both worked and they both took care of the home. And she took care of all of the bills because she was good with accounting. Like, that was her role, and they were married 50 years. It's just sometimes we get into these traditional roles and we define that based on femininity and masculinity, but we don't look at the actual behaviors, like the things that make you a good wife or make you a good husband. We so busy presenting that way, presenting, but like, actually be this and demonstrate this in real life. That's
performing it. Yeah.
Let me ask this question real quick. Yeah, let me ask real quick. I want to ask this question, and because I'm going to open the line up for questions. However, this is gonna be okay today. But anyway, I got this question. In marriage, are we, as women, as Black women, and whether dating or married or looking to be married, are we looking for partnership, or are we looking for the man to be the leader and leadership? And because that's a huge question I wanted to ask, because a lot of ladies today that I've spoken with said that it's more of a partnership than it is the man to be the leader in their marriage. So let's start with
Okay, check this out. Check this out.
Anybody jump
Run
in?
me that twofer. I need a twofer.
Okay, so even in partnership, when you think about law firms, PR firms, accounting firms, they're partners, but they're junior partners and senior partners. You understand me? So when you think about marriage, in certain areas it is a partnership, but understanding your role, I'm a junior partner. Mr. Randolph is a senior partner.
Can I respond?
Okay, so it's understanding that.
The hierarchy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a partner, but he's a senior partner. I'm a junior partner.
Exactly.
It goes for the twofer. You got to have both.
Queen. Go ahead, Queen, and then Ashley.
Real quick. So it's a twofer. We have to have both, and it's all about balance. We have to have that partnership, and we have to have that leadership. And we as women have to work to be better followers, and vice versa, because men also sometimes have to be followers as well. Men are not always strong in some suits. So guess what? Not that you have to bow down to a woman, but you definitely have to be willing to accept suggestions so the ship don't sink. Because we ain't finna get a reins, we ain't finna get a sails, we ain't finna let you can't drive the steering wheel if you can't truly lead. And in a true partnership, everybody know when to give and take. And I just want to bring this back to the workplace real quick. 2 words, grace and tact. Because we can always be leaders and not be masculine when we have grace and tact. So when we're communicating with our colleagues at work, when we're communicating with our friend girls, somebody said it earlier, it's not about what you say, but how you say it. When we say things with grace and tact, we can stand on anything and beat it with our chest and it come out just as soft, but I meant business when I said it, okay? Yeah. So we have to keep those things in mind. So having that twofer will definitely make a successful partnership, marriage, relationship work. Is knowing that balance and being able to manipulate that.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you. And I actually love this comment. Quincy says, absolutely. He says something about a man will give an ear to his woman. The smartest man gives ear to his woman. And I like that. I think men and women tend to have different perceptions on like partnership. When I talk about relationships and me desiring to be married, I generally use the term leader. Like I want my husband to be the leader of our house, right? But I understand when women say partnership. Now, I think that just means that you're working together, like when we both have roles that may be different, but we are both loving each other, respecting each other. You guys are okay. I'm all for tradition. I'm a Christian woman that believes in submission, right? So I'm all for you being like the head of the house, right? But I also think that as you being the head of the house, you still have to give an ear to the people in your house, right? And CEOs do this. Smart CEOs know how to do this. They, at the end of the day, make the choices that they need to make with the knowledge and the expertise that they have. But they don't turn a deaf ear to their employees, right? And so I think that partnership is kind of like a trigger word in our community. But in other communities, you can say that word and people know what you mean. It's about 2 people coming together to do what's needed. They both care for each other. It's just like saying a team. But I do know men, in our culture prefer the word leader. But no matter how you say it, you're 2 people that love each other that are trying to work with each other and trying to do what they're supposed to do in their marriage to make it successful. So
most married people, we know it's a partnership. I mean, we just know, like, I take leadership over what I take leadership over, which is mostly my kids. Like, I take leadership. And when I was thinking of when you all were talking, I was like, I guess I fit more of a traditional role because I do traditional stuff. I don't see myself. I hate to put myself in a box because I'm like, no, like, I don't know. I just hate to put myself in a box. But at the end of the day, like, I take leadership over the things that I take leadership in my home. And then my husband, he takes leadership over stuff that is our finances and things like that. He's that's his role, right? And so like when something goes wrong out of my way, I'm like, what you gonna do? Like, I don't know what you gonna do. Don't ask me, I'm gonna make sure the kids are good. And so that when the kids like are not good, he's looking at me like, I thought you took care of this. Like, that's what our roles are. So we hold each other accountable for that. But we work together, and then a lot of times he always be like, I want your advice, like, because I don't like to give advice about stuff. I'm like, no, that's your role. Like, I don't want to talk, I don't want to do. But he's like, okay, so we work together, because like if he really wants my advice on something, then I will give him my advice. I know Freezy always be like, you're traditional, because Freezy, whatever. But I don't like to put myself in a box, because if I need to pay a damn bill, I can. If I need to do something, like if my tire go flat, I know how to get it done. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I have the capability. My husband does those things. He does. He that's kind of, his parents been married 50 years. So it's ingrained in him to do certain things, but that doesn't mean that I'm incapable, I guess, So I just, that's why I always be like, but I get what you all are saying, that like majority of my role is like the traditional stuff, right? I cook, clean, I take care of the kids, whatever. So it's this part of what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's the leadership for me.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead,
because I prefer leadership doesn't mean I'm not capable of leading. And I think a team is only as strong as its weakest link. And as the weaker vessel, if I am capable of doing everything, I need to be capable of doing everything he's able to do, because God forbid something happen and he's not able to perform, then I've got to step up to the plate and do whatever it is that needs to be done until he's able to get back to those duties. And I don't think it takes anything away from me as a woman to say that, the man is in leadership. I'm okay with that. Let you wear your super cape, your cape outside the house and be a superhero. And when you come home, I'm gonna patch the holes up on it, boo. You gonna do that. I got the kids over here, because there's a lot in that role, those pressures. And if we're in, and y'all don't attack me, but if we are in those leadership roles or taking on the masculine roles, we lose a bit of our femininity when we have to step into those roles. I'm okay being the female. Let him go out and do his thing, and let me stay in my feminine energy.
Courtney, what you got?
I'm gonna co-sign on the Book of Genesis. You're absolutely correct. I want a leader. I want him to make the tough decisions. A great leader always knows how to delegate, but at the end of the day, he runs the home. I don't want those responsibilities, quite frankly. So if some go awry, baby, that's on you. I don't. I think we put ourselves in situations and wanting partnership and 50-50 when I don't think we're ordained to be. I think we put a lot on our backs that causes a lot of stress that ends up with us having some health problems because we're doing roles and putting ourselves in men positions where we're not supposed to be. Our man is supposed to be the leader, and I'm supposed to help him lead. And that is a stressless job compared to his. And that's why I think our men deserve a hell of a lot of respect, because they are putting themselves on the line a lot more than women are supposed to. But no, he leads. He runs the house. And I'm going to help him whatever he needs me to do.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you. So
I just wanted to say I agree with TJ when TJ said, it's partners, like, what I'm saying? Like, I'm the junior partner, he's a senior partner, which means like, I have input, but he has the final say. So it's like, it doesn't mean that he's not a leader, like he doesn't have the final say. But at the same time, I'm still respected for my position. I'm saying? I still have my responsibility, my part. in it. You know what I mean? It's more of a balance to me. So yeah.
Okay. Anybody else want to answer the question?
Well, I would be 40%.
Mhm.
He's definitely, or out 25, he's 75, because again, I mean, and I don't think when we think about submission and we think about this, I don't think any man that's worth his salt wants a mute. Not a mute.
Yeah.
A mute.
Right.
You know, they want you to be able to think, and kind of like what Genesis says, he wants a woman that can pick up if need be and carry this, carry the mantle, because if something were to happen. But in the meantime, in the between time, he is the head. So in my mind, he's a senior partner. I defer to Mr. Randolph on everything. And I always used to say before I met him, just because I can do everything, don't mean I want to. And when I said I can do everything on the strength of financially supporting myself, because I was supporting myself and my daughter, but the shit gets tired. It does. So now that I have this man, this husband, I gladly defer. But I am a junior partner. He, Mr. Randolph has the final say.
Wow. Anybody else? Can you want to hop in on this one?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that the most important attribute in a relationship for both people to have that will determine the success of it is each person's level of emotional intelligence. And I know some people hear emotional intelligence and they be like, me and not emotional. That's not what it means, okay? Emotional intelligence is your level of self-awareness, like how aware you are with yourself, self-regulation, motivation, empathy is a huge part. That's for men and women, and social skills, right? So if both parties are working on, and you can develop your EQ just like your IQ, like you can become more emotionally intelligent. And I think that it becomes easier to be in relationships for men and women when you possess that. So like for me personally, I definitely, first of all, let me just say I'm agnostic. So I'm not, like I grew up in the church, but I'm not religious. So I don't have this religious framework to be like the help me to the man. That's not even in my wheelhouse. I'm agnostic, right? So I don't go off a religious mindset. So just in reality, in my relationship, I understand that there's things that it shifts, right? So there's things that I need to do. There's things that he needs to do. It changes. It's like, what do we got to do to make this family successful? Like, that's literally it. It doesn't matter who's doing it, right? And so that's why when I hear like the 50-50 thing, like, to me, that's almost like a semantic situation. When people say 50-50, it's like you literally trying to split stuff up and be like, you gonna get this and you gonna get, like, I just say 100. And I say that because it's like, no, everything is one pot. Everything is one goal, one whatever. What do we need to do to get this accomplished? How do we figure this out? What makes sense? And I feel like sometimes we can actually cause more trouble in relationships when we got these strict gender ideas on what a man is supposed to do, what a woman is supposed to do. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say that a man does fall on hard times and can't financially provide and stuff like that. Maybe he's helping around the house or doing something like that. If you have this strict idea that the man just has to do that, then it could come to a point where you can be emasculating, or you can be like, oh, he ain't doing what he's supposed to do, because it's just a mindset. But it's like, what makes sense to the success of this family? Like, that's what we need to pay attention to and be agile about it, instead of trying to just do things that fit into a box. Like, do what makes sense. I feel like people need to do more of do what makes sense. And if you're emotionally intelligent, you should be able to communicate, have self-awareness. Like, one thing that I know about myself, or that I learned about myself, if anybody knows anything about attachment theory, right, and the way we grow up is kind of how we attach later in life. One of the biggest things I learned is that I do have a anxious attachment style, and I'm a vacillator. So either like it go from 100, it go from 0 to 100 real quick. Like, it's either stuff is like I idealize, so I'm like, oh, this is perfect, this is amazing, I love everything about you. One thing could happen, I'll be like, you stupid, you never was good, I hate you. Like, what is this? Like, and I'll do that, but I know that about myself now, right? And so being aware of that, and then my husband also knows, like, we did our attachments, and so he's avoidant. Or he can be avoidant. Like, that's the way he deals with stuff. Like, if something happened, he gonna shut down. We ain't finna deal with it. And if you know anything about those attachment styles, they don't work well together, because then that makes me more anxious when he avoid more. But us knowing that, now we can stop and pause and sit back and say, okay, we doing that thing now. Let's stop. Let's communicate. Let's figure it out. And I feel like that's what's important, right? You have to be, and both parties have to be aware enough to be able to navigate that stuff.
Yeah, because I think
She
that
said vacillate, not
Yeah.
Vaseline. Y'all play, y'all play too much.
Vaseline.
Y'all play too much.
y'all need to Google vacillate.
Look it up. Vacillate.
Lord,
I think a lot of people try to learn traits instead of
And after Tawana, we get our first caller. Go
like
ahead.
instead of actually developing emotional
Good time,
intelligence, learning conflict resolution, because both sides need it. Like you can be as feminine as you want to, but if you don't know how to resolve no conflict, you're gonna be a feminine fighting fool. Like I'm just saying, like you don't, some of the skills you need is just, people don't really focus on developing the skills that you need to be married. They really focus on, I'm gonna be this perfect wife that clean every day. That's not enough. I'm telling you right now. And so if you think that just cleaning every day and being in your feminine energy is gonna sustain your marriage, then I don't know who's giving you these ideas and fantasies like that. You have to have emotional intelligence and you have to know how to resolve conflict in a healthy way. I mean, not just with your husband, with everybody like in life, but I don't know. I just think that sometimes we try to learn stuff that's not necessary for a relationship. That's
okay. So now what I want to do now, guys, thank you again for being here. Hey, guys, there's 76 people watching. Well, 78 now. Thank you for being here tonight. Please hit that like button. We have 68 likes, 77 people watching. Go ahead and hit that like button now. Also, we're going to have some questions. So we have some people coming in wanting to ask some questions. What I'm going to do, I'm going to back out, right? Tawana, you can guide the questions. I will set the timer for 5 minutes.
okay.
Once the 5 minutes is up, you're going to see the guy, the person, or the guy or the gal that asked the questions disappear, and you'll see me again. Okay, so we have 5 minutes. We're going to do 5 minutes, right? They'll ask the question, and then once they ask the question, we'll give 5 minutes for the answer, or anybody want to respond, and then I'll pull them back out and bring up the next person.
Okay.
All right. Let me back out and bring Queen back in here. Now the first caller we have is let's see who we got. I seen your little podcast. What's up, guy?
What's going on, BMU?
What's going on, my brother? All right, man. Go ahead and ask your question. I'm gonna start the timer in the background, brother. As soon as you ask your question, I'll start the timer. Let me bring up Miss Queen Smiley in the back. All right, 1 second.
All right. How y'all doing, ladies?
All
Hey,
right.
hey, hey.
What's up,
What's
Courtney?
going
What's
on?
up,
See your
Genesis?
little podcast. What's going on, boo? How are
What up, though?
you?
What up, though? I'm
Busy?
absolutely nervous right now, right? Because
Don't be.
not like I'll be honest, my nervousness is less about you all and the fact that I have my lady watching this right now, right?
Hey, what up,
So
boo
you-
thing?
Right. So you all
Hey,
have
Miss,
done
I seen your little podcast.
Right. Salute to my boo, right? You all have done an awesome job tonight, I have to say. I'm pleasantly impressed. I won't say surprised because I know a few people on the panel, so I kind of expected this, but this has been genius level conversation tonight. So salute to you all for that. Honestly, the questions that I really had, you all kind of touched on. So I guess I'll just kind of do this. Full transparency, right? Me and my lady have been having this conversation recently because she doesn't like the fact that I refer to her responses or reactions to me as aggressive and masculine. And she's like, that's all you're going to say now. Everything I do now is masculine, right? And so I had to take a step back from it. Like, man, am I just reiterating manosphere rhetoric? You know what I'm saying? Like, is that what I'm doing, or is it really that, right?
Uh-huh.
But so I guess my question is this. Can we make room for the fact that maybe men can decipher or discern aggressive masculine behavior, right? Or is it kind of like what was said earlier, that if a woman just isn't being completely docile, she will be seen as aggressive or masculine? Because this is not something I want to, continue to cause division in my relationship. And I'm pretty sure we're not an anomaly, right?
Yeah.
And so I really think, like, I'm with Tawana on this one. Like, man, what is this feminine thing, right? And then you say this and you say that, and it's like people have different definitions, and I'm new feminine, I'm old feminine, right? But I mean, is there a specific sign? I don't even know if I'm getting my question out right, but just I guess I just want to reiterate again, what is femininity and how can I decipher the aggression and not see it so much as masculine. You know what I mean?
One more question. Did you start doing that after you did this manosphere, or did you always feel that she was being masculine and now you just have the language?
Well, I always felt that she was aggressive, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I definitely addressed it as that. But definitely using the term masculine, definitely in the last 6 months.
Okay.
Right.
Do not take YouTube home.
All right. So Queen Smiley wanted to respond, and then whoever's next. Go ahead, Queen.
So yeah, I just wanted to take it goes back to communication 101, and being able to articulate your true feelings and what she does make you feel. And it goes back to the baby steps. I feel like this when you do. Versus putting the stereotype on it. So having an open conversation. There's a series called Crucial Conversation. My internet dropped, so I'm sorry y'all, I lost y'all and came back, and I heard the words emotional intelligence. Coupled with emotional intelligence is also this series called Crucial Conversations, and it helps you navigate a conversation that's truly difficult to have. And it goes across all kinds of spectrums, whether it's a personal relationship or a business relationships, but it allows you to navigate the conversation, to stay focused on what the behavior truly is, because we did talk about behaviors early, characteristics versus behaviors. There's some behaviors that your girl is doing. Shout out to you, Queen. Not saying to bow down by no means, but I need you to hear your mate, because there's something you're doing that makes him feel some type of way. And that's what y'all need to get to the bottom of, having that true conversation. You make me feel like this when you do this, and then vice versa, and being open to that dialogue.
I like that.
Phrase.
I'm
sorry. I didn't know if Shushu wanted to go next. Shushu, did you want to go next? Because I think no.
Oh no.
Okay, go ahead, Ashley. Okay. I thought you wanted to go.
I was going to say, I agree with you. We do have to just, and it's not about sugarcoating. I think sometimes people think it's about sugarcoating. It's more so about taking ownership for how you feel, and not using language that just blames, right? So I agree with that. But I also think maybe, you could be right. Maybe she is being a little masculine, right? And so, Queen, I'm happy that you spoke directly to her. But then my suggestion for you is maybe ask yourself, okay, just take a second. Okay, is it just how I feel right now? Does that make me feel some type of way? Or is it just really her being assertive in how she's speaking? Is it just her saying something that maybe you just kind of weren't ready to hear at that time, right? So just kind of do a self-check is what I'm saying. But I did want to say, I really appreciate your question, and I really appreciate that. Just the willingness to think, okay, maybe it's me. Maybe, the self-reflection. And I just really appreciate that, because sometimes that's the case too, right?
Yeah. I think we're low on time. Shout out for still being with her, even though you think she masculine. Go ahead. I'm never even my lady. Because this shows that you are a balanced person and you understand that people have fluid energy. But go ahead, Chastity.
So I just wanted to add to it real quick, being mindful of our time. Just what I would recommend is exactly what Queen said, because that was the one thing that I did take away from my ex from many years ago. He said to me, he was like, I do not like it when you yell, because I shut down, Chastity. I don't hear anything you say. He was like, you instantly become like a man to me, and I shut you down. That broke my heart. It's like, what? I was like, babe, I just don't feel like you hear me. He was like, I do hear you. I love you, so I do hear you. But when you yell, I can't hear you. So it was in that moment I learned why did I feel like I needed to speak so passionately? And then I asked him for time if it was too triggering for me, just to give me, a few minutes or whatever to process it, so I could speak like I had some sense and respect for him.
Queen, I love that we are really simpatico, because I was an HR professional too, and I used to teach that Crucial Conversations class, girl. Okay, yes, I used to teach that class.
All right, so the next caller we have coming up is Billy the Kid. So Billy the Kid, once you ask your question, you'll have 5 minutes, and then I'll pull you back down after 5 minutes, my brother. All right, here we go.
Hello.
Hey, ladies.
Hey.
Hey, Billy.
I like the way you work that.
Hey.
What's going
Remember,
on?
you got 5 minutes now.
Okay.
I know. I ain't gonna need no 5 minutes. All I need is 1 minute. I'm gonna troll y'all for 3 minutes, and then I got 2 minutes for a question. So,
go ahead, sir.
What we gonna get into right now is this queen syndrome that I feel like my ladies got. Because I love all my black women. All y'all beautiful. It ain't gonna be no problem for y'all to find a man or get anybody on y'all shit. So the problem is keeping them. Like getting a man on your program and then keeping them on your program. So when we talk about femininity, I want to get into the queen syndrome, and like a lot of our ladies refer to themselves as queens. I'm a queen, I'm this, that, and the other. But in all reality, when we talk about like the way things work in the world, nobody likes a queen. Nobody, not even the people who work under a queen. People are afraid of the queen. People are, it's either off with your head, it's either you're banished from the kingdom, or, you're gonna die. And in our community, when it comes to black men, a lot of black women are, to account for those kind of things. They kick dudes out of the house. They have no problem kicking a man out of the house. They have no problem setting him up in a situation where, his freedom might be on the line. I need you to protect me and go out there and do something stupid. Or it's I'm gonna get my brothers and my uncles to come beat your ass, and this, that, and the other. So and this is my house. So, if you have anything to say, you could get the fuck out. It's a lot of that in our community. And what we have to realize is that if our women want to be viewed as feminine women, you have to let go of the queen syndrome and pick up the princess syndrome. And the princess is one who is in need of a man. Because when you on a date with a man, like, I got this, that, and other, and I don't need a man, that turns us off. Don't turn the man completely off. And it's sitting there running the wrong direction, because in all actuality, just like y'all, you just want to, everybody in the world just want to be needed. We just want to be wanted. We just want some work. Give me a reason to come home. Like, I don't want to go to happy hour. I want to go home to my woman. Please make it a sanctuary for me to come back to, and you'll get any and everything from me. Like I was saying in the comments earlier about about the princess thing, and I got a lot of flack and feedback and comments against it. And I was saying that your tears hold power. Your softness, your power lies in your softness, women. Like when a woman cries around me, I feel the innate duty to protect her, to do whatever I got to do to make her stop crying. And that's usually men who they love. Man loves a woman like his sister, his mom, his cousin, wife, auntie. He don't want to see them cry. He don't want to see them upset. He don't want to see them, and that all has to do with the princess thing. Like, men are quick to run to save the princess. We don't want to run to save the queen. The queen got her own back. And I was saying, like, on Game of Thrones, like, there's many kings and there's many queens. Name a nice queen. Name a nice queen on that show.
Go ahead, Genesis. She wants to respond.
Go ahead.
Right. So yeah, I might consider myself a queen, because any man that I'm with is the king. As the queen, I'm going to protect my king. And I don't mean in the physical sense that I'm protecting him from, in a fight. I'm protecting his heart. I'm protecting his spirit. I'm protecting his energy. And, it's in game of chess, the queen protects the king. We navigate life the same way, because I know that if I am protecting him from those things, then he's capable performing his role so that he can do for me what he needs to do for me and our family.
But what I'm saying is just your presence provides protection for a man. Like me, when a woman, if a woman has not good intentions for me, like if she see me out in the club and I'm spending money and this is that and other, my protection is to tell that woman, hey, I got a woman at home. I got a wife. That protects me from a lot of bullshit. That protects me from a lot of even dudes. When they be like, hey, bro, we about to go do this, that. Nah, I got a wife.
Well, Billy, do you think
her presence is my
okay? But do you think every man thinks like you and don't want a woman that's a queen? I'm just curious. Do you think every man thinks that and he doesn't want a woman that's a queen, or do you think that like every man wants this princess?
It depends on personality types. Like we have women that are masculine and we have women that are feminine.
Men.
Just like the opposite scale, we have men that are masculine and they have men that are feminine. Don't mean that they gay if they have feminine, attributes. What you need to do is find you a masculine woman,
right?
To vice versa. It's a balance. Mm-hmm. It's a balance. So if you're an alpha woman, you don't need nobody telling you nothing. You don't want nobody. If you think that you're the alpha in the relationship, you need to get with a beta male. Mm-hmm. You need to get with a male who will not tell you anything, who does not want to be the head of the household. I see what he's saying. Who wants to be a partner, who wants to be a, it's all about the fit, of it all.
Well, here's the thing. We're all kings and queens without kingdoms anyway. So here's just in the term of endearment. It only gives you, it's like calling somebody honey or sweetie. You just giving them a term that lets them know how they rank in your life. The hierarchy in your life. It's not necessarily that she's a queen and she has royalty and she has resources and wealth and all these power. It's more so a mentality of, you see me as the head of what my domain, and I see you as the king, and that's.
But think about it in the Disney movie.
I hate to go ahead and end it, but our time is up.
Yep, your time.
Thank you, Billy. We truly appreciate your comment. We hope that you truly find a queen, because basically it sounds like you've been dealing with a bunch of low down, dirty trifling.
Well, he got a queen.
He got a queen. Call me. Oh,
he got a queen. He got a queen. Oh. She want to be the queen. She wants to be the queen. He don't like that. He wanted to be a princess.
Yeah. So
he wants you to be a princess, honey. I don't know,
Billy. I need my works for you.
I need my king, honey.
Okay.
I need my king, honey.
So we were a little choppy. Thank you guys for letting me know that, and they said it's a little bit better. Thank you too, Courtney, for looking out for me. I got you. All right, guys. So listen. Now I learned my lessons. However, there was someone a week ago or two that was offensive to some people on this panel, and that person said he wants to apologize to each person on this panel. Okay. Do you guys want him to apologize to you or no?
No. It's not necessary, but go ahead. Yeah.
Well, he reached out to, if it's who I think it is, he reached out to me personally and apologized to me earlier today. If it's who I think it is.
So I want to, because I want to, if I want him to apologize, it's chaotic truth, guys. He said he wants to come up.
Really chaotic up here.
Okay, if y'all good with it? All in favor, sound aye. All right. So happy. There we go. Chaotic. You see that chaotic? Look at it. He got a new background. Wait a damn minute. Hold on. Let me get him in here.
Oh, Lord. Now, before I apologize and explain myself, I would like to sing a very ancient African-American song from one Anita Baker. Now, if I start singing in a tone that you think I should stop at, just tell me to stop. This is Anita Baker. I apologize. Operator, get my baby on the line. Just the other night we had. You said stop.
Please.
No, let him keep saying it. Go ahead, chaotic. I love it.
Fight. I admit that I was out of control, but I still love my woman with my body and soul. When the road gets rough, okay, let me stop. Last week,
apologize.
Oh, believe me, I do. I apologize.
Yeah. Last week, guys, I was on here, and I think there was a misunderstanding. I was not talking about anybody on the panel other than, and I will say her name, Robbie. Yes, I called her a Jezebel, and I called her a few things, but I wasn't talking about the other women on the panel. I think what happened was when she started to ask me, "Oh, you said all this in the back," and I said, "Yeah, I was saying all that, yada yada yada." I think that the guys that were here last, well, the girls were women. I think you guys thought that I was talking about you, and I wasn't. Oh damn, you know it's bad when a white dude says stop. Oh damn, he said stop. Yeah, I wasn't talking about you guys, and I'm not up here to bash women. It's just that I think that certain women should not, in my opinion, certain women are very stereotypical, and we have to break that stereotype. And I was talking about Raw B, but I just got done talking to her. But I wanted to apologize to you guys. What say you guys?
What say you guys?
Chaotic.
Appreciate your apology. I accept your apology.
I mean, well, I wasn't on, so I got off. So.
It was like a bad dream.
I thought he was about to say
the
something
way
else.
she shouted and the way
that I screamed.
I regret it because
I regret this. Stop. I regret this. I apologize. I apologize to everyone listening.
I'll just say, chaotic truth. The best apology is change behavior.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say. You know, we like to give grace. You know, we tend to give a lot of grace, and I'll definitely extend you some. You know, but you do use a lot of racialized language, sir.
Well, I am black. I can talk about my own people. Now here goes the thing: is Regina Bell out the question?
For what? Singing?
What is sweet baby?
You better not mess up her song. You're going too far. You're going too far.
Okay, I get it.
Thank you so much for apologizing. That was amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like I said, I know that some of the things that I say can be controversial, but I mean everything that I say from the bottom of my heart, and yeah. But I was talking about Rob B, and you know I talked to her personally, but yeah, I don't like her behavior. I think it's appalling. I think that it's unladylike, and I think she's a bad representation for Black women. That's just my opinion. But I didn't. Yeah.
Well, I thank you for reaching out to me earlier today. I really appreciated that.
Yes.
So and definitely, I appreciate that. So yeah, I definitely accept it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Yeah. Courtney, did you like my singing?
I loved it.
Thank you very much.
I think we should go on the road.
Yeah.
I'm all about some Rick James, Tina Marie.
Yeah. I would love to see Rick James.
Some Fire and Desire.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
What about Cameo? She's Strange. How about that one? I like the way she walks. I like the way she talks, and she turns me on with a special concern. But I'm a different guy, and I don't compare to many. Next to her, play ordinary.
For real.
I rock the funk. I love funk music. Yeah.
I tell y'all what, if y'all ever in the Dallas, Dallas area, y'all want to do some karaoke, let me know. I'll meet y'all at a karaoke bar for sure. Just call me. Please don't let me miss this opportunity.
Yeah, let's do karaoke. Guys, salute to you guys. But I'm glad you guys accepted my apology, and thank you so much, and happy Memorial Day. And guys, I want to say this real quick. Start running this summer if you haven't. This is for everybody that's watching. Start running, walking, enjoying nature. Bask in the glory of the universe. There's nothing greater than being outside amongst the trees and the birds and just enjoying life, enjoying just listening to the sound of you just walking and your heartbeat and just contemplating existence. Yeah. I want to point out that Corey said stop again.
Right.
Yeah. Guys, have a good one. I'm going to talk to you guys later, but positivity to everyone, including the haters that are in the bushes. And absolutely, guys, thank you so much for letting me on.
All right. Have a good one.
Take care.
Thank you, Corey, for telling him to stop. He was about to put his foot in his mouth.
Lord Jesus.
Funny.
Yeah, there's some people in the chat that's getting on my nerves.
I apologize.
Believe me, I do.
Oh, believe me. Yeah.
But you know what though? Let me tell y'all something. Anita Baker, back in the day, those songs, she would talk to you. It was a conversation. It was not like a song. She was like, operator.
Okay, you look like a bad.
Yeah, with Bill.
Go
back
with Bill.
Hey, look, I got another guest in the back. J Speed. I'm gonna bring J Speed up.
No, you just hit us with that little C note real quick.
Yeah. I'm just leave it alone. I come back. Maybe we'll come back from an encore or something. All right, here we go.
Who's coming on? Oh, okay. Hello.
Oh,
let me get it right for y'all good. Look, first thing I would like to say, it's good to see a beautiful panel of gorgeous women of all shades and all sizes and just having fun and expressing themselves. I know it's gonna be hard for me to follow that vocal skill act that just left, and pretty sure them lessons was not spent very well.
no, G.
Well, you know, I think
I heard
the whole
you got a
thing
voice.
about I know about the things of testimony. You're supposed to tell the truth, and y'all had me speaking in tongues earlier, and I usually don't do that, but in my own private, I don't do that in church. But it's a beautiful thing to see women. I'd like to say something though. See, let me get my seat turned around. Y'all gotta excuse me, I just got through feeding 30-something people. I've been in the kitchen sweating. I wasn't fortunate enough to get a big plate like my brother up there. So I had to cook for like 30-something people. But I would like to say this. I understand the queens and the king, the thing that we speak on very highly. But I can pretty much assure you a lot of them crowns been knocked off our head a long time ago. And we really don't need them. Reason why is, in some poems, as y'all would say, I'm from the South, so you might hear me get some vowels and consonants all twisted up, but you'll be able to understand. My vernacular is Negro.
We understand you fine. You do not.
Okay.
You don't have to.
So I want you to know I'm making a disclaimer before I get started. Okay.
We understand. We understand.
Okay.
It's country. We
and
understand
you beautiful.
Thank
You beautiful.
You. Thank you.
And that's the same thing I said to my ex-wife when she was in the court. She kind of looked just like it. And I can't look at you again because you're so beautiful. But anyway, but
I'm blushing.
Speaking of that. Psalms, I think it's 86-2, ye are all God's children of the Most High. I think we belittle our titles too much. And if we really found out who we really was on this planet, a lot of them secondary titles of Johnny Come Home lately titles, we wouldn't even try to embrace them. If the Creator himself, who created all of us, say we are God's children of the Most High, we ain't the God, but we are God's because we get dominion and we get to create things and we get to make things and we get to name things. I think if we start acting like who we truly are, that a lot of our problems will just fly out the window. I've been in these YouTube streets about 2.5 years. I'm 62 years old, got 5 kids, 46 to 22. Come from a family of 18. 11 sisters, so that's why I feel right at home with you all. And one thing I did learn in that household is understanding the power and understanding the woman within itself. I think I was speaking to a gentleman today on my show, and I was saying, if we really took the time to understand people and pick the best quality of people, we'll find there's some cuteness in every woman I ever seen in my life, and I have traveled inside of this country and outside of this country. Regardless of even if you are sexual or attracted to her or not. And I can prove that just by people who have been in the public, been in an environment. When you meet somebody who's general nice, or somebody who that you like, or you work on a job, or you just in friendship, that person you're not, they look, it's not even important anymore because that look become part of their character. And their character become bigger than their looks. So I disagree. I've been known throughout these YouTube streets to have a cape for women. And some of it's true. I'm always have a cape for women, and that's due to one point and one point only. Women are the first teachers of life ever before it even come out of the womb. And how you treat her, how you talk about her, or how you make her feel about herself, it has an impact on every generation coming from now to then, until then to now in the future. So if I have to weigh that cape, I look at that the same way I look at everything. If I have to lie to be your friend, that's one friendship I don't like. So you women have a beautiful day. I just wanted to come on and compliment you. I'll be visiting my brother. We just really made in contact from some other shows on the other side of the street. And you'll find out I'm funny, I'm witty, I'm old, as in age and numbers wise. But I still get my groove on. And I still do a lot of things and some things I do better than when I was 21 because I take care of myself. So I would like to come on this show and give you some women some insight on nutrition, herbals, and stuff like that to keep yourself looking young for the rest of your life. Peace, love, and always strive for the truth. I'm out of here. J Speed, SPWD Speed, 95 degrees in the shade, and I ain't gonna sweat for nobody.
All right.
All right. Hey. Good night. He was amazing.
Yeah, he was. He was.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry. Forgive me, Lord. Forgive me, Lord. I'm about to get into my masculine energy. I'm sorry. Some of these people are so fucking rude in this chat.
Facts.
No fucking respect.
Always.
Facts.
And if the shoe fits, step off in the bastard. Y'all are so rude.
Let me just say something. That man that just came up is OG. He's very, very respected in this manosphere, in this space, period. He's been through a lot in the Nation of Islam, a leader of men.
Yeah.
So I understand it's funny, haha, but this man has been through a hell of a lot. If you know his story, he demands respect. So I appreciate OG.
Yeah.
So
and
I'm gonna tell you know what, honestly, ladies, honestly, like some people need to
you
be
should hope that you
ignored.
live that long. You're so fucking rude, so have no respect for anything or anybody. You sit behind a damn computer and act all big and bad, sending just snide fucking remarks. You're disgusting.
All right.
You're disgusting. You're low life. You're ignorant. Ain't about shit. Ain't gonna be about shit. Yes, I said it. I meant it. Masculine and all. You just got growed. I'm done.
Energy fluids. I told y'all. Black Man Unfiltered. Black Man Unfiltered. A lot of
I'm trying to get in the chat so I can see what happened.
All right, so
guys,
we got another call in the back.
Wait, Black Man Unfiltered. A few people want to say bye though before.
Okay, I'm sorry. Who wants to say bye?
So Ashley, Miss Cannon, and Chastity. I know they're all leaving. So you
give I didn't. It wasn't me. I was saying good night to my sisters.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought she was leaving. Okay, go ahead, Ashley and Cannon.
Okay, Ashley, go ahead, sweetheart.
Well, I just want to say thank you all. I really like y'all, ladies, and thank you so much, Black Man Unfiltered. I really appreciate you, and thank you for having me on your show. And I hope to be back. Y'all have a good night.
Absolutely, thank you, Ashley.
Good night, Ashley.
Bye.
All right,
night,
so we're gonna go bring up the one and the only Cannon Hill in the business. You know what, Cannon? She might have another date night tonight or something.
I know. I'll be having to tend to my husband. You know, traditional roles and everything.
Yes.
You know, he'd be looking at me crazy. I'd be like, "Yes, Daddy." Okay.
Oh my God. Okay, go ahead.
But thank you for having me. It was a great conversation, ladies. I really appreciate you all. Tomorrow, we will be having our panel on the Ladies Room podcast. You guys can join. It's going to be an interesting conversation. It's going to be talking about child support. So I'm sure it will be interesting. Sure, it's going to be interesting. So come on over, join us tomorrow. It's at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good night, sweetheart.
Miss Cannon.
All right, so we got a caller in the back. I'm going to bring him up. He's CJ from the FYE 100, the 5100 podcast, and I'm going to let him ask his question, and then we'll move on to the next caller. Here we go. Hey, CJ, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, man. Ask your question. The ladies are waiting.
I had asked a question in the chat not too long ago, but before I do that, now come on, y'all. Like, y'all know how the chats be. We was roasting Chaotic. Nobody had an issue when we was roasting him. Come on, man. It's all fun and jokes. We know how the chat be. We shouldn't pay too much attention to the chat. But anyway.
Oh, be quiet, CJ. I will roast you.
No.
Because
I'm from men. You know, men.
I roast you. I know you, pro.
You see the old Battle of Tennesseans.
Right.
I respect my elders, period. If I don't agree with them or not, I respect them on the strength that they're my elders. That's what I do. So roasting is one thing, but again, I just think it was just disrespectful. I'm a Generation Xer, and that's what we do. So I just think that's what we do, and I thought it was disrespectful. And that's what I said, and I meant what I said. It's a generational thing for me. I just respect my elders, whether I agree with you or not, whether I could vibe with you or not, on the strength that you're an elder. That's how I do it.
Well, I'll keep the rest of my comments to myself on that. Y'all have y'all entitled. You're entitled to an opinion. But
no, CJ, go ahead, give your opinion.
Nah. There's too many women here. I'm cool.
Smart man. Hey,
I'm cool. I'm smart, man.
What's your question, buddy?
I was just wondering, because I think there's a lot of confusion. What do y'all view as a leader and a head of a household? Because a lot of people just don't seem to have a straight definition for it.
That's a good one.
I agree with you.
I was asking the question.
Okay. I was like, if anybody's not gonna go, I'll go.
Right.
Well, the leader is the ultimate decision maker. That's what the leader is. So if anything happens in the home, at the end of the day, he holds all the responsibility of the end result. And him bearing that responsibility means that I submit to his mission of what he wants. And at the end of the day, he puts the yes or the no on it. Now, me vetting means that I understand a good leader also means that he's able to take good counsel. Mm-hmm. And he's able to listen and weigh the pros and cons before he hits the yes or the no. So a good leader just doesn't do willy-nilly, doesn't move off emotion, think logically, doesn't just make a decision off the rip, thinks about it, weighs it, research it. So that is also a good leader. So
come on, big tongue, Annie.
Are you talking?
No, I just checked you. Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
Oh.
That tongue got in the way. That fat tongue got in the way. Go ahead.
I don't know if that was rude or nasty. But anyways, okay. 5 head looking at me. I think a leader is that. Lead you to the promised land. Okay.
All right. Anybody else want to jump in on that and answer that question? What does a leader look? I mean, the head of household look like, or leader?
I think the leader is ultimately responsible for how the household flows. In a corporation, if you have the president or the CEO, that's who is running the day-to-day operations ultimately. Even if there is an executive board or an advisory board that they consult with, it may be the workers who are carrying out the day-to-day operations, but ultimately their role is defined by the person who is in charge of running that company and they're making sure that everything gets done, stays on track. And I think that the leader in the household is the same way. Even if I'm managing the household and I'm managing the children, I'm submitting myself to that leadership. That leadership is also making sure that I'm doing what I'm doing so that the household runs smoothly.
Yeah, it's almost like the person that sets the tone, essentially within the household. It's having that tone, that natural balance set. Granted, most oftentimes it's the woman that's the glue that holds the whole thing together. But definitely that head of household, that leader, which is essentially the same thing, they set the tone within that household and within that relationship or marriage or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So good point, ladies.
Real quick, you can take me off after I say this, Black Man. Do y'all think it's an insult to say that the Black woman is the backbone of the Black community? You can take me off after that.
I wouldn't say it's an insult. I think it goes into that falsified persona that, we are superheroes, which goes back to the initial conversation and the topic at hand. What is true femininity? Like, what is femininity? And that goes back to some of those stereotypes where the narrative has shifted. We're not feminine to the point where we're natural caregivers and taking care of the household. Culture and society has shifted to where women are seen to be some type of superhero. We exuberate all these qualities and we're able to manage all these things with little to no emotion, with little to no support, and we're expected to do these things with ease. So not that it's a bad thing that we're the backbone to the community, but it definitely plays a part in that falsified, kind of persona that we're superheroes and we're not. We can't hold the whole community up. We need that support as well, So that's my
absolutely. Thought. We do have my guy Jedi Mike in the house tonight. Believe it or not, this is TJ Randolph's favorite person, also Shushu's favorite person, and I'm not going to say why. I'll let them tell you why this is their favorite person. But go ahead. Look, you see this? You see this?
Divine 9 up in the house. Yes, Divine 9. Yes.
All right. So what's up, Jedi Mike? How you doing, bro?
Doing good. How you guys doing? You guys hear me?
Yes, sir. What you got for the ladies tonight, man?
First of all, if I haven't met you before, nice to meet you. My name is Jedi Mike. But one thing I can say that was kind of just very welcoming just to see in this conversation. I made a joke in the comments saying I was about to cry. But because this whole week, last 2 weeks has been chaotic, in more ways than one. And to me, like I said, me as a Black man, I didn't want to be in this type of environment where I'm being combative, especially with my own women. And to a lady to my left, to my left, what you were saying on there, you're just hitting fires, because every time you speak, I'm like, that's what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm like, yes, and I was just like, yeah, and we're just hitting it, and this is the point of just where you're talking about that obviously there's no thing of you submitting to is no sign of weakness. It's just my mother, yes, she stayed at home, but she stayed at home for me because I had a lot of medical problems as a child. But yet, same time, when I was at the bus stop, when there were fights in the bus stop, she just came there and she had to yell, scream, or anything like that. She was a keeper of peace. She brought peace to the whole atmosphere, and it wasn't even her own children, right? And my question to you, well, to all of you, is that for someone, I'm about to be 24, and I'm asking, what you say in terms of, you say it might be critique of terms of women in my age demographic that might not be understanding the dynamic between men and women and what they might be lacking, so way that they won't get into these constant gender wars that we always are complaining about, and that to me I'm sick of. So that's my question to you.
Jedi Mike, do you find that your generation is engaged in this? Because I feel like it's a lot of millennials. But tell me if you think the Gen Z generation, are they involved in these gender wars? Because I'm not.
Well, in terms of the talking points, it is definitely YouTube. But I mediate conversations at my university. come out. So like I run organizations, Black Male Initiative, as well as NAACP. So I mediate conversations like this on a consistent basis throughout the year. And you'd be very surprised that, some of the things that I talk about on YouTube on like a weekly basis is what they're having on college campuses. But the problem is that a lot of it, we think that doesn't exist. But when we're in the closed doors and we be transparent, that's when I see that a lot of these things that we guys were talking about is happening in my generation, but it's slowly bleeding over. Yes, there's some on the men's side, the talking points, like the stuff, I don't really, condone anything because it's just a bunch of foolishness. But to the things that we talk about, I do see that. Yeah.
All right. Anybody
That
else?
goes back to my point I mentioned earlier about me being as strong as I was as a mother. My oldest two children were girls. One's 25, the other's 22. So here it is. Now they're in that age range where they're a bit too strong. And they're, like you're saying, they're a bit combative when it comes to relationships. I call them and I call them to their face. I ain't gonna even be ashamed, but I tell them all the time, y'all love these old toxic relationships y'all create where y'all always rah, back and forth with one another. Nobody knows how to communicate. And then I say, how can y'all go to school and teach our children when that's how you communicate initially? Like, how can you find yourself in some of these roles professionally when your communication style is always So to your point, Jedi Mike, I don't know what to tell you about these kids because I don't know. I broke my children, I spoiled them and I sheltered them from those emotions. So they're learning how to deal with those. So how do you navigate that conversation right now? That I don't have an answer for. If any one of you ladies can help me, help them. I'm game for it because iron sharpens iron. So tell me, what can we do to kind of break that curse?
Well, I will tell you what my daughter told me, because like I shared, I didn't know, I thought I was showing her one thing, but what I was actually showing her was something completely different. And when she knew that she wanted to be married and she did not want to be this strong person all the time, she wanted to be able to know the difference. She said it did serve her well when she went into her work life, but she didn't want to be that in her personal life. So she said that she started associating with and sought out women who were married, who had been in relationships, who had successful relationships to better understand how those dynamics work, because she didn't learn it from me because she didn't see me doing it. So I would submit to you, Jedi, having the young men and women, if they aspire to certain things, to seek out those type of role models and ask them, what has worked for them. And unfortunately, I will say we had those same type of conversations when I was in college back years past.
Right.
But I think it's just continued to go more downhill. And then you add to the superficiality of, the hair, the nails, the money, that makes it even worse because we're not looking at inside, we're looking at outside even more so. So I would submit, talk, and interesting enough, a lot of our mentors were actually college professors who,
Yes.
that were particularly Black professors who have been married, and they became our mentors, and we could kind of seek them out. So that's what I would encourage you to, particularly if you have Greek advisors and those kinds of things. Well, that's where we learned a lot of stuff from when we couldn't find it at home. Some of us listened to it and some of us didn't.
Yeah. And I just will close with this just because, for me, the only reason why I'm very passionate about it because it's yes, we're in a predominantly white institution here, in the DMV area, but I can tell you that when we're in a secluded environment, that we're still divided as a culture. And then we do have college professors who are alumni, also from different fraternities, sorority life as well, and different other organizations. And that, to me, that's the reason why I know I might be too young to be part of these conversations, but I'm seeing them at a very young age, which is why I engage in these conversations right now. Because if we start at the root of the problem now, then just hopefully years to come, then we won't be having these issues that we continually talk about. But thank you guys. You guys did an amazing job today.
All right, thank you, brother.
Can I chime in real quick at the very last of what he's saying? I'll definitely reach out to all your alumni and people at schools, but please Do not forsake the small business owners within the DMV in your local community, because many of us are willing to serve and to give back and to help be another sounding voice. Let's not continue to use the same leaders. Let's reach out to small business owners, because many of us, we're not given the same opportunity, and many people are tired. So reach out to those people in your community.
We focus so much on the division. I'm pretty sure people don't even know how to partner. Like, there is so much focus on why we're different, but obviously we're different. I feel like it's kind of like common sense that women and men are different. I just don't understand like why we have to fight about it all the time, but we do in this space, and it's funny and it's fun. But at the same time, it's kind of like we are different. So let's kind of get over that. And I know when I was in college, we did a lot of collaborative things. And I will say, like, we used to do lunch and learn with like the men and women. We would get together and we would all have conversations. We did a lot of collaborative events, so it wasn't a lot of separate, and we didn't talk about the separate or the differences all the time. We tried to talk about things that like bonded us and made us to like closer. And I don't know if I study sociology, and it's commonality that bring people together. It's not differences. So the more things that you have in common, the more the values, the morals, the more partnerships that will build. And so once you get together and start focusing on that stuff, then it's just going to be natural in my opinion. But I don't know.
All right. So ladies, you have a special treat in the house tonight. And I want to bring him in. I haven't seen him in a while. He knows that he's my brother from another mother. But I want to introduce you to some. Courtney already knows.
I do have to leave. I'm sorry.
Okay,
before I get started, I want to say bye to everybody. I do have to go.
I know why.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. But yes, thank you.
Yeah. All right. I understand. All right, boo. Have a good night. So I want to bring in guys to treat you guys before you leave. He's a stripper. He's a male stripper. He's been around for a very long time. They call him Bob, the big old baby. And I want to bring him up. You guys know him as Canadian-born Nigerian Black David, but we call him Bob, the big old baby, and the Nigerian sledgehammer. Let me go ahead and bring him up. Here we go. Black David, are you ready?
I'm ready, Black Pimp. This never gonna end.
I'm not going to turn the music off until you do the shoulders.
What?
The stripper shoulders. I'm not turning the music off until you do it. Go ahead. Jedi going to show you how to do it. Look at Jedi. Jedi's got it right here. You see Jedi? Okay, now
Jedi. You got to be in trouble now.
Everybody waiting on you.
Come on, Boyka.
Here we go. Go ahead.
What the hell? Enough. Cut the music.
All right. It's good to see you, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Black Pimp. Trying to embarrass me in front of my grandkids.
Man. I love you, brother. It's good to see you, man. So I'm gonna bring you up, man. What question do you have for the ladies tonight, brother?
First of all, I want to say good evening to my elder Auntie TJ and to all the sister of the panel. How you doing? I was enjoying the whole entire show. You drop a lot of gem, a lot of knowledge, a lot of insight. My question I'm gonna ask is very simple. There have been a lack of elders in the community. The only elder I know of are Auntie TJ and Unsecurity Boss. When are we going to get back and have respect for our elders and let them pass the knowledge we have to the next generation? They can pass down to the next generation. When would that building that circle back up again? Simple question.
And this is the last question of the night, ladies and gentlemen. And we're gonna be out.
Real quick, I think it's one thing to have quote unquote elders that are trying to bring forth information. That's one. But two, do we have elders that are acting like elders? That's two. Three, even if we have elders that are acting like elders, will they listen to us? I would submit in many cases, no. And it disheartens me because, again, I've shared the reason why I came here a year ago. not just for myself, but to help others based on the things that I did wrong, to include the challenges of mental health that led me to consider taking my life. You know, I'm like my mom. I'm not stupid. I just look like this. My mother used to tell me that all the time. I'm not stupid. I just look this way. So I will submit to you, you know, there may be some that want to impart things that they've learned, and not to say that they've gotten it all right, because we clearly haven't. But it's based on the things that we didn't get right that we want to try to share with you. But, you know, I will not suffer disrespect. I will not suffer that. You know, I will impart what I can impart, but I won't suffer that. And I will not debase myself. Now, if I have to grow you like I just did and cuss you out a minute, that I'm not above that. But I try to keep it classy for the most part. But in answer to your question, I mean, it's a lot of different variables. We have elders that don't act like elders. One, we have elders who are not listened to. You know, so you know, I just and I don't know. So I'm not sure I have the answer to that question.
Anybody else want to chime in on this one, Genesis?
I think I agree with what TJ said. It's about the elders acting and carrying themselves as elders, because otherwise, you know, their efforts will be futile. Nobody's going to listen.
Absolutely, I agree.
And the way I'm asking this question, because I see you guys have a very strong want to change the narrative, want to change what's been going on with our today's society, and I respect that. And I humbly respect that. We do not ask that question because without the kind of elder, we have these fourth leaders who are putting out forth information on how a woman, how a lady is supposed to act. I remember I said that the grading system, we have women who are full of maturity, we got ladies who trying to grow into maturity, and we have girls who are immature. Not everyone will be a woman, not everyone will be a lady, and not everyone will be a girl. And the reason I put that scale in place is because we are at a place right now, we have to ask ourselves, who are we going to be, how we going to conduct ourselves, and how we going to respect ourselves. If we don't do it now, when are we going to do it? Because I've been on this platform for a while, but I've been using it for more than a decade. And I would say this, I respect people who I've seen. If you're older than me, I will respect you regardless. I don't believe in disrespecting my elders. I've been embedded in me since I was a child, even with the African culture thing. But I realized we need to have a consistent ideology that will not only build the proper foundation, but able to build upon that. Because if we don't start now, when am I going to start? That's why I asked that question.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, Black David.
Real quick before you go, another thing too. I think I see somebody put in there that, you know, many elders have failed us or failed younger people, and I will submit that that is true. But I also will submit that each generation, I could say that, you know, as a Generation Xer, I could say that many of the elders, to include my own parents, failed in certain areas. But does that mean that they didn't learn from the things that they failed at to better instruct me, so I could therefore instruct my daughter, even with the failures that I made with my daughter, with the difference in the failures that my mother made with me? So does that mean because people have fallen short that they have no value, nothing to offer you? Does it mean that they have to be 100% on point to offer you something? I think that is one of the things that's really disheartening for me, and particularly coming from a Generation Xer perspective. We didn't expect our elders to be perfect. But because we knew that they weren't perfect, it didn't mean that they didn't have some sage counsel, sage experience to offer, for which that we could glean some things that we could apply to our lives. And it didn't mean because they misstepped that we all just say, well, fuck you then. You don't know what you're talking about. You failed us. Get away from me. That's the difference. See, I get really passionate about this part. Because see, one day, for those of you who talk about that, one day you're going to hopefully live to be 55. And they're going to be telling you the same thing. You failed us. Next.
On that note,
I want to get Chastity. Chastity is about to leave. Thank you, Chastity. I want to thank you so much because you're so calm and cool, collect, and you put your you put your punches in, and you know how to back up. You got your deep man. You are amazing. So I want to thank you for being here tonight, and giving your perspective. And so you shout out your channel before you get out of here, and everything else you want to shout out, your business, your channel, your everything. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Black Man Unfiltered, for having me. Thank you so much to the panelists and everybody who shared this platform with me. Definitely a great conversation, definitely a great show. Last thing that I do want to add before I leave, that as time continues to move us elders and other people around, I believe when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I'm just an optimist like that. And I just believe that in due time, everything does happen. One of the biggest things that I continue to see, especially now, is the millennials. They'll partner with people like Queen Afua, who is more seasoned than I am, and get the wisdom from a Queen Afua because they have the younger strength. So you'll have the Jedi mics that'll reach out to the elders and just different people, because it takes all of us, guys, just to get this going. But on that, I'm gonna get out of here because it is past my time. I did let him know that, but it was definitely a pleasure as always to be able to, kick it with y'all in here. Thank you to everyone. If you need any life insurance or help with retirement, definitely hit me up on any of my social media platforms. My name is spelled how it is at the bottom, CHASIT as in Tom, Y. It's just one T in my name. And also, I am author of a book, and that is Dare to Dream Again. And that is women who are ascending and you feel like you are stuck in one place and you want to live your God-sized dream. Definitely can get it on any of my social media platforms as well. It's definitely been a pleasure. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and to be with each and every one of you.
Thank you again. And guys, please go get that book. Please go get that book. Please go subscribe, get that insurance, get your damn retirement ready so you won't be working at Walmart 85 years old. All right. Thank you so much, Chastity.
I don't think they want to work at Walmart.
Yep.
While we're saying our good night, I'm going to also gracefully bow out. Good night, Chastity. Thank you so much.
Now, real quick, before you leave, Queen Smiley.
Talk to me.
I have an intriguing guy here tonight, and he just came in the building. And before you leave, I want you to hear what this man has to say about what you guys talked about tonight. And I'm gonna let him talk, and then I'm gonna end the show. Okay, I want to end the show. Okay. Information man is in
Hey,
the
what's
building.
going on, man? Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Hey, how's everybody doing? Thank you.
Do you see TJ? Look at TJ. Do it again, TJ.
All right.
All right, go ahead, man, my brother.
Nah, I just, I came in late. I wish some of the ladies would have still been on here, but I just wanted to give them all the kudos. I think that the ladies made great points tonight. It was a very, I learned a lot listening to the ladies and what they had to say, their perspective. And I think once again, that's what we need to do as a people. We need to listen to each other, have understanding, because out of that understanding can come correction. When we understand what's going on around us and what's happening, understanding our history. And that's why Jay Speed, I know Jay Speed very well. I've talked to him behind the scenes. And I think that people need to not be short on your respect to our elders or people who have more wisdom and know where the ditches are that we're trying to get over. They can tell us what to watch out for. So we should really respect that because, look, I'm a Gen Xer myself. So I understand what the sister is saying. A lot of our elders, they didn't always do the right thing, but I always believe that a wise man and woman learns from the mistakes of others and a fool learns from his own mistakes. So I think we need to really observe what they did wrong. And I think the millennials need to observe as well because they're going to make some mistakes. And the one difference between our generation is that the Generation X generation is that we were engrossed with history. So the millennial generation, I would say to them, please take the time to study and understand history because Because just as James Baldwin say, if you don't know what happened to you in the past, you won't know what's happening to you all around you today. So it's very important. And this is why it was great to have a mixture of ladies on your panel tonight to give different perspectives. I think what's most importantly, because my organization does this too, is that if we want to change this narrative going into the future, whether it be colorism, this gender war, which I'm really getting sick of completely, we've got to make sure that we don't send this poison or give this poison to the next generations that are coming up. We gotta empower them. And that's why I believe in mentorship, whether it be the ladies organizations, the men organization, no matter what organization you are, get involved in your community and do what you can to show our youth that certain things can be achieved and can be done. They need to see us. They need to see us in action, less in words. And so that's how we can change this narrative. If our youth can see enough of us loving on each other, they will grow up, and and young ladies and young men will grow up, and they'll see that this is how we should treat one another, because they grow up and they see black men showing respect to black women showing respect to black men. And that's what we want to create. That's the type of energy that we want to create, not this negative energy, because they're watching what we do. They learn from us. Like I said, learning from the mistakes of other people, they learn from us. But sometimes, unfortunately, they learn the wrong methodology, and we just got to get away from that. So, brother, Black Man Unfiltered, what you're doing here is God's work when you can bring ladies together, you can bring men together of all different backgrounds, and be able to have this type of candid conversation, which I think that we need a lot more of on YouTube. That's why I'm so glad that we have channels like yourself, because we need more of this type of conversation, mature conversations that lead to a solution, right? Solution based. So that's what I have to say tonight. It's fantastic. I was watching the whole time before I came up on the panel.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you, until I saw near the end that you were inviting men to come up. I just thought maybe it was going to be strictly ladies tonight.
Right. I appreciate you, brother. If you can't stay behind real quick, I want to ask you something.
Oh, no problem.
No
problem at all.
I want to ask you something. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you for coming in, man. Let me get to the ladies here so we can shut this thing down, because I know it's past my girl bedtime up here. I mean, look, watch this. Oh, she trying to go. I ain't trying to piss off TJ tonight. So listen. But guys, I do thank you guys for coming in tonight. I thank you for being here. The people that are still watching, if you have not subscribed to Black Man Unfiltered Network, please do so. We're doing great things and going to continue to do great things and create more things coming in the future. Today was Talk That Talk Tuesday. The women took the panel and did an amazing job. On Friday, we have Barbershop Talk with the guys. On tomorrow, we have a sports show from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock with our two guys on the 1-in-1 sports show. And then Mandrell, Unapologetic with Mandrell and Shushu tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. So I appreciate you guys. If you're going to give a super chat, absolutely do that to support the channel. Also, Cash App is available as well if you want to do that. If you don't have that to give, just hit that subscribe button and like button, and I'll love you the same. All right. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. And until next week, we're going to handle it again. All right. Peace.
Peace.